This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. Recording by Lauren Costanza, Jack Evans, Jennifer Hill-Kaucher, Christa Manning, Kara Riepert, Dan Waber, and Cassandra Westover.
Yes. Because he never did a thing like that before, as asked to get his breakfast in bed with a couple of eggs. Since the City Arms Hotel, when he used to be pretending to be laid up with a sick voice. Doing his highness to make himself interesting stuff. Old faggot, Mrs. Riepert.
That he thought he had a great leg up, and she never left us a farthing. All for masses, for herself and her soul.
Actually afraid to lay out 4D for her methylated spirit.
Telling me all her ailments. She had too much old chat in her about politics or earthquakes and the end of the world. Let us have a bit of fun.
God help the world if all the women were her sort. Down on bathing suits and low necks. Of course, nobody wanted her to wear them. Suppose she was pious because no man would look at her twice. I hope I'll never be like her.
I wonder she didn't want us to cover our faces. But she was a well-educated woman, certainly, and her gabby talk about Mr. Riepert,
Mr. Riordan there. I suppose he was glad to get shut of her. And her dog, smelling my fur and always edging to get up under my petticoat.
Especially then.
Still,
I like that in him. Polite to old women like that, and waiters and beggars too. He's not proud out of nothing, but not always. If ever he got anything really serious the matter with him, it's much better for them to go into a hospital where everything is clean. But I suppose I'd have to bring it into him for a month. Yes, and then we'd have a hospital nurse next thing on the carpet.
Have him staying there till they throw him out, or a nun maybe. Like the smutty photo he has. She's as much a nun as I am not.
Yes, because they're so weak and puling when they're sick and they want a woman to get well.
If his nose bleeds, you'd think it was, tragic. And that dime-looking one off the South Circular, when he sprained his foot at the choir party at the Sugarloaf Mountain the day I wore that dress. Miss Stack bringing him flowers, the worst old ones she could find at the bottom of the basket.
Anything at all to get into a man's bedroom, with her old maid's voice trying to imagine he was dying on account of her, to never see thy face again.
Though he looked
more like a man with his beard a bit grown.
In the bed,
Father was the same.
Besides, I hate bandaging and dosing. When he cut his toe with a razor, paring horns, raped and blood poisoning.
But if it was a thing I was saying, then we'd see what attention. Only, of course, the woman hides it not to give all the trouble they do. Yes, he came somewhere, I'm sure, by his appetite. Anyway, love it's not, or he'd be off his feet thinking of her. So either it was one of those night women. If it was down there, he was really, and the hotel story he made up, a pack of lies to hide it, planning it. Hines kept me. Who did I mean?
Yes, I met.
Do you remember
Mental?
Let me see that big baby. I saw him, and he's now married, flirting with a young girl at Pool's Miriorama. And turned my back on him. Squeezed out, quite
Conscious. What harm? But he had the impudence to make up all done to him, his mouth almighty and his boiled eyes. Of all the good
I ever
met. And that's called a solicitor only, for I hate having long wrangle in bed. Or else if it's not that, it's some little bitch or other he got in with somewhere or picked up on the sly. If they only knew him as well as I do.
They only knew him as well as I do. Yes, because the day before yesterday he was scribbling something, a letter, when I came into the front room to show him Dignam's death in the paper, as if something told me, and he covered it up with the blotting paper, pretending to be thinking about business. So very probably that was it, to somebody who thinks she has a softy in him, because all men get a bit like that at his age, especially getting on to 40. He is now. So as to wheedle any money she can out of him. No fool like an old fool. Then the usual kissing my bottom was to hide it.
Not that I care two straws now who he does it with, or knew before that. We'd like to find out, so long as I don't have the two of them under my nose all the time, like that slut. That Mary we had in Ontario Terrace, patting out her false bottom to excite him bad enough to get the smell of those painted women off him. Once or twice I had a suspicion, by getting him to come near me when I found the long hair on his coat. Without that one, when I went to
the kitchen pretending water, one woman is not enough for them.
It was all his fault, of course.
Supposing that she could eat at our table on Christmas Day.
If you please. Oh no, thank you, not in my house. Stealing my potatoes and the oysters, 2 cents per dozen.
Going out
to see her aunt. If you please, common robbery, so it was. But I was sure he had something on with that one. It takes me to find out a thing like that, he said. You have no proof
it was her.
Proof, oh yes. Her aunt was very fond of oysters. But I told her what I thought of her, suggesting me to go out to be alone with her. I wouldn't lower myself to spy on them. The garters I found in her room the Friday she was out, that was enough for me. A little bit too much. Her face swelled up on her with temper when I gave her week's notice. I saw to that.
Better do without them altogether. Do out the rooms myself. Quicker only for the damn cooking and throwing out the dirt. I gave it to him anyhow. Either she or me.
I couldn't even touch him if I thought he was with a dirty, barefaced liar and sloven like that one, denying it up to my face and singing about the place in the WC too, because she knew she was too well off. Yes, because he couldn't possibly do without it that long. So he must do it somewhere.
And the last time he came on my bottom, when was it?
The night Boylan gave my
hand a great squeeze, going along by the toka in my hand. There steals another. I just pressed the back of his like that with my thumb, to squeeze back singing. The young May moon, she's beaming love, because he has an idea about him and me.
He's not such a fool.
I'm dining out.
He said, I'm
going to the
gaiety, though I'm not going to give him the satisfaction. In any case, God knows he's changed.
Not to be always and ever wearing the same hat, unless I paid some nice-looking boy to do it, since I can't do it myself. A young boy would like me. I'd confuse him a little, alone with him. If we were, I'd let him see my garters.
New ones.
And make him turn red looking at him, seduce him. I know what boys feel with that down in that cheek. Doing that frigging drawing out the thing by the hour, question and answer. Would you do this, that, and the other with the Coleman?
Yes.
With the bishop?
Yes, I would.
Yes, I would. Because I told him about some dean or bishop was sitting beside me in the Jews' temple's gardens when I was knitting that woolen thing, a stranger to Dublin. What place was it? And so on about the monuments.
Encouraging, making him worse than he is. Who's in your mind now? Tell me who you were thinking. Who is it? Tell me his name.
Tell me who. The German emperor?
Who is the German emperor, is it? Yes. Imagine him. Think of him. Can you feel him trying to make a whore of me? What he never will. You have to give it up now.
He ought to give it up now at his age of his life. Simply ruination for any woman, and no satisfaction. Pretending to like it till he comes, and then finish it off myself anyway. And it makes your lips
pale. Anyhow, it's done now, once and for all, with all the talk of the world about it. People make it's only the first time. After that, it's just the ordinary do it and think no more about it. Why can't you kiss a man without going and marrying him first? You sometimes love too wildly when you feel that way. So nice all over you. You can't help yourself.
I wish some man or other would take me sometime when he's there and kiss me in his arms. There's nothing like a kiss. Long and hot down to your soul, almost paralyzes you. Then I hate that confession when I used to go to Father Corrigan. He touched me, Father. And what harm if he did?
Where?
And I sat at the canal bank.
But whereabouts on your person, my child?
On the leg behind.
High up,
was it?
Yes, rather high up.
Yes, rather high up.
Was it where you sit down?
Sit down, yes, oh Lord. Couldn't he say bottom right out and have done with it? What has that got to do with it?
And did you...
Forget.
No, Father. And I always think of the real Father. What did he want to know for when I already confessed it to God? He had a nice fat hand. Moist always. I wouldn't mind feeling it. Neither would he, I'd say. By the bull neck in his horse collar. I wonder, did he know?
I could see his face. He couldn't see mine. Of course, he'd never turn or let on. Still, his eyes were red when his father died. They're lost for a woman, of course. Must be terrible when a man cries, let alone them. I'd like to be embraced by one in his vestments, and the smell of incense off him like the Pope. Besides, there's no danger with the priest. If you're married, too careful about himself. Then give something to his holiness and hope for penance. I wonder if he's satisfied with me.
One thing I didn't like is laughing behind going away familiarly in the hall. Though I laughed. I'm not a horse or an ass,
am I? I suppose he was thinking of his father's. I wonder, is he awake thinking of me, or dreaming, am I in it? Who gave him that flower he said he bought? He smelt of some kind of drink. Not whiskey or stout, or perhaps the sweety kind of paste they stick their bills up with. Some liqueur I'd like to sip. Those rich-looking green and yellow expensive drinks. Those stage-door Johnny's drinks.
The opera hats I tasted once with my finger at the dead of that American that had the squirrel
Talking stamps with father. He had all he could do to keep himself from falling asleep after the last time. After we took the port and potted meat. It had a fine salty taste, yes, because I felt lovely and tired myself, and fell asleep as sound as a top the moment I popped straight into bed. Till that thunder woke me.
God be merciful to us. The heavens were coming down. To punish us. When I blessed myself and said a Hail Mary like those awful thunderbolts in Gibraltar, as if the world was coming to an end. And then they come and tell you there's no God. What could you do if it was running and rushing about nothing? Only make an act of
Candlelit that evening in Whitefriars Street Chapel for the month of May. See, it brought its luck. Though he'd scoff if he heard, because he never goes to church, mass, or meeting. He says your soul, you have no soul.
Inside only great because he doesn't know what it is to have. Yes, when I lit the lamp. Because he must have come 3 or 4 times with that tremendous big red brute of a thing he has. I thought the vein, or whatever the dickens they call it, was going to burst. Though his nose is not so big.
After I took off all my things with the blinds down,
After my hours dressing and perfuming and combing, it like iron or some kind of thick crowbar standing all the time. He must have eaten oysters. If he doesn't.
He was in great singing voice. Oh, I never in all my life felt anyone had one the size of that. To make it feel full up. He must have eaten a whole sheep. After what's the
idea of making us like that? With a big hole in the middle of us, or like a stallion driving it up into you. Because that's all they want
out of you. With that determined, vicious look in his eye.
I had to have shut my eyes.
Still, he hasn't such a tremendous amount of spunk in him. When I made him pull out and do it on me,
considering how big it is.
So much the better.
Washed out properly.
The last time I let him finish it in me. Nice invention they made for women, for him to get all the pleasure. But if someone gave them a touch of themselves, they'd know what I wanted to humiliate.
Nobody would believe cutting her teeth, too. And Mina Purefoy's husband.
Give us a swing out of your whiskers, filling her up with a child or twins once a year, as regular as the clock, always with the smell of children off her. When they call it budgers or something, like a nigger with a shock of hair on it. Jesus Jack, the child is a black.
The last time
I was there, a squad of them falling over one another in balls. You couldn't hear your ears supposed to be healthy. Not satisfied till they have us swollen out like elephants, or I don't know what.
Supposing I risked having another not off him, though still, if he was married, I'm sure he'd have a fine, strong child, but I don't know. Poldy has more spunk in him. Yes, that'd be awfully jolly. I suppose it was meeting Josie Powell and the funeral, and thinking about me and Boylan set him off. Well, he can think what he likes now, if that'll do him any good. I know they were spooning a bit when I came on the scene. He was dancing and sitting out with her the night of Georgina Simpson's housewarming.
And then he wanted to ram it down my neck. It was on account of not liking to see her a wallflower.
That was why we had the stand-up row over politics.
He began it, not me, when he said about our Lord being a carpenter at the last who made me cry. Of course, a woman is so sensitive about everything. I was fuming with myself after for giving in, only for I knew he was gone on me. And the first socialist he said he was. He annoyed me so much. I couldn't put him into a temper. Still, he knows a lot of things, especially about the body and the inside.
I often wanted to study up that myself, what we have inside us. And that family physician, I could always hear his voice talking, and the room was crowded. After that, I
pretended I had a coolness on with her over him, because he used to be a bit on the jealous side.
Whenever he asked where you were going
to, and I said I was going to. And I said, over to Chloe, and he made me the present of Byron's poems and the 3 pairs of gloves, so that finished that. I could quite easily get him to make it up any time. I know how even supposing he got in with her again
and was going out to see her somewhere. I'd know if he refused to eat the onions. I know plenty of ways. ask him to tuck down the collar of my blouse, or touch him with my veil and gloves on. Going out, I'd kiss, then would send them all spinning.
However,
all
right, we'll see then. Let him go to her.
She, of course, would only be too delighted to pretend she's mad in love with him. That I wouldn't so much mind.
I just go to her and ask her, do you love him? And look her square in the eyes.
But he might imagine he was.
But he might imagine he was, and make a declaration to her with his plabbery kind of a manner like he did to me. Though I had the devil's own job to get it out of him, though. I liked him for that. It showed he could hold in and wasn't to be got for the asking. He was on the pop of asking me, too, the night in the kitchen. I was rolling potato cake.
There's something I want to say to you. Only for I put him off letting on I was in a temper. With my hands and arms full of pasty flour.
In any case, I let out too much the night before, talking of dreams. So I didn't want to let him know more than was good for him. She used to be always embracing Josie. Whenever he was there, meaning him, of course, glomming me over. And when I said I washed up and down as far as possible, asking me, did you wash possible?
The women were always egging on.
Putting it on thick when he's there. They know by his sly eye blinking a bit. Putting on the indifferent when they come out with something. The kind he is. What spoils him, I don't wonder in the least. Because he was very handsome.
Trying to look like Lord Byron.
I said I liked, though. He was too beautiful for a man. And he was a little
before we got engaged. Afterwards, though, she didn't like it so much. Dea was in fits of laughing with the giggles. I couldn't stop about it.
All my hairpins falling out one after another with the mass of hair I had. You're always in great humor, she said. Yes, because it grigged her. Because she knew what it meant.
Because I used to tell her a good bit of what went on between us. Not all, but just enough to make her mouth water. That was my fault. She didn't dark Mary.
Much after we were married.
I wonder what she's got like now after living with that dotty daughter of hers. She had her face beginning to look drawn and run down the last time I saw her. She must have just been after a row with him, because I saw in the moment she was edging to draw down a conversation about husbands and talk about him to run him down. What was it she told me? Oh, yes, that sometimes he used to go to bed with his muddy boots on when the maggot takes him. Just imagine having to get into bed with a thing like that.
That might murder you any moment. What a man. Well, it's not the one way everyone goes mad.
It's not the one way everyone
Whatever he does, always wipes his feet on the mat when he comes in wet or shine. And always blacks his own boots, too. And he always takes off
his hat when he comes up in the street like then. And now he's going about in slippers to look for 10,000 pounds for a postcard. Up, oh, sweetheart May.
Wouldn't a thing like that simply bore you stiff? Actually too stupid even to take his boots off. Now, what could you make of a man like that?
I'd rather die 20 times over than marry another of their sex. Of course, he'd never find another woman like me to put up with him, the way I do. No, me, come sleep with me. Yes, and he knows that, too, at the bottom of his heart. Take that Mrs. Maybrick that poisoned her husband, for what I wonder, in love with some other man. Yes, it was found out on her.
Wasn't she the downright villain to go and do a thing like that? Of course, some men can be.
Drive you mad. No, he's the worst word in the world. What do they ask us to marry them for if we're so bad as all that comes to? Yes, because they can't get on without us. White arsenic she put in his tea. Fly paper, wasn't it? I wonder why they call it that. If I asked him, he'd say it's from the Greek. Leave us as wise as we were before. She must have been madly in love with the other fellow to run the chance of being hanged. Now she didn't care. If that was her nature, what could she do? Besides, they're not brutes enough to go and hang on me, surely, are they?
They're all so different.
Boy, talking about the shape of my foot. He noticed it once, even before he was introduced. When I was in the DBC with Polly laughing and trying to listen, I was waggling my foot.
We both ordered two teas and plain bread and butter. I saw him looking with his two old maids and sisters when I stood up and asked the girl where it was. What do I care with it dropping out of me? And that black closed breeches he made me buy takes you half an hour to let them down.
Wetting all myself. Always with some brand new fad every other week. Such a long one I did. I forgot my suede gloves
on the seat behind that I never got after some robber of a woman, and he wanted me to put it in the Irish Times. Lost in the Ladies' Lavatory, DBC, Dame Street. Find a return to Mrs. Marion Bloom, and I saw his eyes on my feet going out through the turning door. He was looking when I looked back. and I went there for tea 2 days after in the hope, but he wasn't now. How did that excite him?
Because I was crossing them when we were in the other room first. He meant the shoes that are too tight to walk in.
My hand is nice like that.
If only I had a ring with a stone for my month. A nice aquamarine.
I'll stick him for one.
And a gold bracelet. I don't like my foot so much. Still, I made him spend once with my foot. The night after Goodwin's botch up of the concert. So cold and windy it was. Well, we had that rum in the house to mull, and the fire. It wasn't blackout when he asked to take off my stockings, lying on the hearthrug in Lombard Street West.
And another time it was my muddy boots. He'd like me to walk in all the horse's dung I could find.
But of course, it's not natural like the rest of the world.
I could give 9 points
and he had to beat her. What does that mean? I asked him. I forget what he said, because the stop recitation just passed, and the man with the curly hair and the loopy dairies was so polite.
I think I saw his face before somewhere. I noticed him when I was tasting the butter. So I took my time. Bartell Darcy, too, that he used to make fun of. When he commenced kissing me on the choir stairs after I sang Gunna's and Maria. What are we waiting for?
Oh, my heart, kiss me straight on the brow and part, which is my brown part. He was pretty hot for all his tinny voice, too. My low notes he's always raving about, if you can believe it.
I like the way he used his mouth singing. Then he said it wasn't terrible to do that in a place like that. I don't see anything so terrible about it.
I'll tell him about that someday. Not now, and surprise him, and I'll take him there and show him the very place, too, we did it. So now there you are.
Like it or lump it. He thinks nothing can happen without him knowing. He had an idea about my mother till we were engaged. Otherwise, he'd never have gotten so cheap as he did.
He was 10 times worse himself anyhow, begging me to give him a tiny bit cut off my drawers. That was the evening coming along Kenilworth Square. He kissed me in the eye of my glove, and I had to take it off, asking me questions. Is it permitted to inquire the shape of my bedroom? So I let him keep it as if I forgot it. To think of me, when I saw him slip it into his pocket. Of course, he's an atom, subject to drawers. That's plain to be seen. Skirts blowing up to their knees.
Even when Millie and I were out with the open air feet, that one in the cream muslin standing right against the sun so we could see every atom she had on. When he saw me from behind falling in the rain, I saw him before he saw me, however, standing at the corner of the Herald's Crossroad with the new raincoat on him. With the muffler and the Zingari
colors to show off his complexion, and the brown hat, looking sly boots as usual. What was he doing there where he'd no business? They can go and get whatever they like from anything at all with a skirt on it, and we're not to ask any questions. But they want to know where were you going?
Where are you going? I could feel him coming along, skulking after me, his eyes on my neck. He had been keeping away from the car. He felt it was getting too warm for him, so I half turned and stopped. Then he pressed my gloves slowly, till I took off my gloves slowly, watching him.
He said my open-work sleeves were too cold for the rain. Anything for an excuse to put his hand in near me drawers the whole blessed time, till I promised to give him the pair off my doll to carry about in his waistcoat pocket.
Oh, Maria Santissima, he did look a big fool dreeping in the rain. Splendid set of teeth he had. Made me hungry to look at them, and beseeched of me to lift the orange petticoat I had on with the sunray pleats, that there was nobody, he said. He'd kneel down in the wet if I didn't. So persevering he would, too, and ruin his new raincoat.
You never know what freak
they'd take alone with you. They're so savage for it. If anyone was passing.
So I lifted them a bit and touched his trousers outside.
The way I used to guard her after with my ring hand to keep him from doing worse where it was too public.
I was dying to find out. Was he circumcised?
He was shaking like a jelly all over. They want to do everything too quick. Take all the pleasure out of it. And Father waiting all the time for his dinner. He told me to say I left my purse in the butcher's and had to go back for it. What a deceiver. Then he wrote me that letter with all those words in it. How could he have the face to any woman
after his company manners making it so awkward after, when we met asking me have I offended you with my eyelids down.
Of course he saw I wasn't. He had a few brains, not like that other fool, Henny Doyle. He was always breaking or tearing something in the charades. I hate an unlucky man, and if I knew what it meant, of course, I had to say no for form's sake. Don't understand you, I said. And wasn't it natural? So it is, of course. It used to be written up with a picture of a woman's on that wall in Gibraltar, with that word I couldn't find anywhere, only for children seeing it too young, then writing every morning a letter.
Sometimes twice a day. I liked the way he made love then. He knew the way to take a woman. When he sent me the 8 big poppies because mine was the 8th. Then I wrote the night he kissed my heart at Dolphin's barn. I couldn't describe it simply.
It makes you feel like nothing on earth. But he never knew how to embrace well, like Gardner. I hope he'll come one day, as he said at the same time.
4. I hate people who come at all hours, answer the door, you think it's the vegetables, then it's somebody and you all undressed, or the door of the filthy, sloppy kitchen blows open, the day old frosty-faced Goodwin called about the concert in Lombard Street, and I just after dinner all flushed and tossed with boiling old stew. Don't look at me, Professor, I had to say. I'm a fright.
Yes, but he was a real old gent in his way. It was impossible to be more respectful. Nobody to say you're out. You have to peep out through the blind like a messenger boy. Today I thought it was a put-off first, him sending the port and peaches first, and I was just beginning to yawn with nerves thinking he was trying to make a fool of me, when I knew it was tat-rat-tat
at the door. He must have been a bit late because it was 3:15 when I saw the 2 dataless girls coming from school. I never know the time.
I never know the time. Even that watch he gave me never seems to go properly. I'd want to get it looked after. When I threw the penny to that lame sailor for England,
when I was whistling, there is a charming girl I love, and I hadn't even put on my clean shirt, powdered myself, or a thing. Then this day, week, Morgus was to go to Belfast. Just as well he asked to go to Ennis. His father's anniversary, the 27th. Wouldn't be pleasant if he did.
Suppose our rooms at the hotel were beside each other, and any fooling went on in the new bed.
I couldn't tell him to stop.
I couldn't tell him to stop and not bother me with him in the next room, or perhaps some Protestant clergyman with a cough knocking on the wall, and he'd never believe the next day we didn't do something. It's all very well, a husband, but you can't fool a lover. After me telling him we never did anything, of course he didn't believe me. Now it's better he's going where he is. Besides, something always happens with him.
The time going to the Mallow concert at Maryborough, ordering boiling soup for the 2 of us, then the bell rang out. He walks down the platform with the soup splashing about, taking spoonfuls of it. Hadn't even nerve, and the waiter after him making a holy show of us, screeching and confusion for the engine to start. But he wouldn't pay till he finished it. 2 gentlemen in the 3rd-class carriage said he was quite right. So he was, too. He's so pig-headed sometimes when he gets a thing into his head. A good job. He was able to open the carriage door where it was night, but they'd have taken us on the court. I suppose that was done out of revenge on him.
Oh, I love jaunting in a train or a car with lovely soft cushions. I wonder if he'll do it in the train for me. He might want to do it in the train by tipping the guardwell. Oh, I suppose they'll be the usual idiots of men gaping at us, with their eyes as stupid as ever they could possibly be. That was an exceptional man, that common workman that left us alone in the carriage that came us to house. I'd like to find out something about
1 or 2 tunnels, perhaps. Then you have to look out of the window. All the nicer than coming back. Suppose I never came back. What would they say? Eloped with him. That gets you on the stage. The last concert I sang at, well, it's over a year ago.
A year ago? When was it? St. Teresa's Hall, Clarendon Street. Little chits of missies they have now singing. Kathleen Barney and her like,
on account of father being in the army, and my singing the absent-minded beggar and wearing a brooch for Lord Roberts when I had the map of it all.
And Poldy not
Irish enough.
Was it him managed at this time? I wouldn't put it past him. Like he got me on to sing in the Stabat Mater by going around saying he was putting Lead Kindly Light to music. I put him up to that, till the Jesuits found out he was a Freemason,
thumping the piano. Lead Thou Me On, copied from some old opera. Yes, and he was going about with some of them, Sinner Fane,
or whatever they call themselves, talking his usual trash and nonsense.
He says that little man he showed me without the neck is very intelligent. The coming man Griffiths. Is he well? He doesn't look it, that's all I can say. Still, it must have been him. He knew there was a boycott.
I hate the mention of their politics after the war, that Praetorian Ladysmith and Bloemfontein, where Gardner Lieutenant Stanley G. 8th Battalion, 2nd East Lancashire Regiment of Enteric Fever. He was a lovely fellow in khaki, and just the right height.
I'm sure he was brave, too.
I'm sure he was brave, too. He said I was lovely the evening we kissed goodbye at the canal lock, my Irish beauty. He was pale with excitement about going away, or we'd be seen from the road. He couldn't stand properly, and I so hot as I never felt. They could have made their peace in the beginning, or old Paul and the rest of the other old cougars go and fight it out between them, instead of dragging on for years, killing any fine-looking men there were with their fever.
If he was even decently shot, it wouldn't have been so bad. I'd love to see a regiment pass in review. The first time I saw the Spanish cavalry at Librivox, it was lovely. After looking across the bay from Algeciras, all the lights of the rock like fireflies, or those sham battles on the 15 acres.
The Black Watch, with their kilts in time at the march past the 10th Hussars, the Prince of Wales' own, or the Lancers. Oh, the Lancers, that's grand.
Or the Dublin that won Tugela. His father made his money overselling the horses for the cavalry. Well, he could buy me a nice present up in Belfast after what I gave him. They've lovely linen up there. Or one of those nice kimono things. I must buy a mothball like I had before to keep in the drawer with them.
It would be exciting going around with him shopping, buying those things in the new city. Better leave his ring behind. Want to keep turning and turning to get it over the knuckle there. Or they might bell it round the town in their papers or tell the police on me. But they'd think we're married. Oh, let them all go and smother themselves for the fat lot I care. He has plenty of money, and he's not a married man, so somebody better get out of him. If I could find out whether he likes me.
I looked a bit washy, of course. When I look close in the hand glass powdering, a mirror never gives you the expression.
Besides scrooching down on me like that all the time with his big hip bones. He's heavy, too, with his hairy chest for this heat. Always having to lie down for them.
Better for him put it
into me from behind. The way Mrs. Maschansky told me her husband made her, like the dogs do it, and stick out her tongue as far as ever she could.
And he's
so quiet and mild with his chin-gating sither. Can you ever be up to men?
The way he takes them. Lovely stuff in that blue suit he had on, and stylish tie and socks with the sky blue silk things on them. He's certainly well off. I know by the cut his clothes have, and his heavy watch. But he was like a perfect devil for a few minutes after he came back with the stoppers, tearing up all the tickets and swearing blazes because he lost 20.
He said he lost over that outsider. Half he put on for me on account of Lanahan's tip,
cursing him to the lowest pits, that sponger. He was making free with me after the Glencree dinner, coming back. That long jolt over the Featherbed Mountain after. The Lord Mayor looking at me
with his dirty eyes. Val Dillon, a big heathen. I first noticed him at dessert when I was cracking the nuts with my teeth. I wished I could have picked every morsel of that chicken out of my fingers. He's so tasty and brown and as tender as anything.
Only for I didn't want to eat everything on my plate. Those forks and fish slicers were Hallmark silver, too. I wish I had some I could eat and slipped a couple into my muff when I was playing with them.
We have to be thankful for our mangy cup of tea itself as a great compliment to be noticed in the way the world is divided. In any case, if it's going to go on, I want at least 2 other good chemises, for one thing. But I don't know what kind of drawers he likes.
None at all, I think.
Didn't he say? Yes. And half the girls in Gibraltar never wore them either, naked as God made them. That Andalusian singing her Manola, she didn't make much secret of what she hadn't. Yes, and the second pair of silkette stockings is laddered after one day's wear. I could have brought them back to
the Lures this morning and kicked up a row and made that one change them, only not to upset myself and run the risk of walking into him and ruining the whole thing.
And one of those kid-fitting corsets I want. Advertised cheap in the gentle, with elastic gores on the hips. He saved the one I have, but that's no good. They say they give a delightful figure line, 11/6, obviating that unsightly broad appearance across the lower back to reduce flesh.
My belly is a bit too big. I'll have to knock off the stout at dinner. Or am I getting too fond of it? The last they sent from O'Rourke's was as flat as a pancake.
He makes his money easy. Larry, they call him. The old mangy parcel he sent at Christmas. A cottage cake and a bottle of hogwash he tried to palm off as claret that he couldn't get anyone to drink. God spare his spit for fear he'd die of the drought. Or I must do a few breathing exercises. I wonder if that anti-fat any good. Might overdo it. The thin ones are not so much the fashion. Now garters, that much I have. The violet pair I wore today. That's all he bought me
out of the check he got on the first. Oh no, there was the face lotion I finished the last of yesterday that made my skin like new. I told him over and over again, get that made up in the same place and don't forget it.
God only knows whether he did after all I said to him. I'll know by the bottle anyway. If not, I suppose I'll only have to wash in my piss like beef tea or chicken soup with some of that apopanax and violet. I thought it was beginning to look coarse and old a bit. The skin underneath is much finer where it peeled off there on my finger after the burn. It's a pity it isn't all like that. And the 4 paltry handkerchiefs, about 6 in all. Sure you can't get on in this world without style. All going in food and rent. When I get it, I'll lash it around, I tell you, in fine style. I always want to throw a handful of tea into the pot, measuring and mincing if I buy a pair of old brogues itself. Do you like those new shoes? Yes, how much were they? I've no clothes at all. The brown costume and the skirt and jacket, and the one at the cleaner's. 3. What's that for any woman? Cutting up this old hat and patching up the other. The men won't look at you, and the women try to walk on you because they know you've no man. Then with all the things getting dearer every day for the 4 years more I have of life up to 35.
What am I at all?
No, what am I at all? I'll be 33 in September.
Will I? What?
Oh, well, look at that Mrs. Goldberg. She's much older than me. I saw her when I was out last week. Her beauty's on the wane. She was a lovely woman.
She was a lovely woman. Magnificent head of hair on her, down to her waist, tossing it back like that, like Kitty O'Shea in Grantham Street. First thing I did every morning
would look across, see her combing it as if she loved it and was full of it. Pity I only got to know her the day before we left. And that Mrs. Langtry, the Jersey lily the Prince of Wales was in love with. I suppose he's like the first man going the roads, only for the name of the king.
They're all made one way. Only a black man's. I'd like to try.
A beauty
up to, what was she, 45?
There was some funny story about the jealous old husband. What was it at all? An oyster knife? He went... No, he made her wear a kind of tin thing round her. And the Prince of Wales.
Yes, he had the oyster knife.
Knife.
Can't be true, a thing like that.
Can't be true, a thing like that. Like some of those books he brings me. The works of Master Francois somebody. Supposed to be a priest. About a child born out of her ear because her bum gut fell out. A nice word for any priest to write. And her A blank blank E, as if any fool wouldn't know what that meant.
I hate that pretending of all things. With that old blackguard's face on him, anybody can see it's not true. And that ruby in fair tyrants, he brought me that twice. I remember when I came to page 50,
the part about where she hangs him up.
The part about where she hangs him up out of a hook with a cord.
Sure, there's nothing in that. All invention. Made up about
you drinking the champagne out of her slipper after the ball was over. Like the infant Jesus in the crib at Inchicore, and the Blessed Virgin's arms.
Sure, no woman could have a child that big taken out of her. And I thought first it came out of her side, because how could she go to the chamber when she wanted to? And she a rich lady. Of course she felt honored. His Royal Highness, he was in Gibraltar the year I was born. I bet he found lilies there too where he planted the tree. He planted more than that in his time. He might have planted
me too if he'd come a bit sooner. Then I wouldn't be here as I am. He ought to chuck that Freeman with the paltry few shillings he knocks out of it, and go into an office or something where he'd get regular pay.
Or a bank where they could put him up on a throne to count the money all the day. Of course, he prefers plottering about the house. So you can't stir with him any side. What's your program today? I wish he'd even smoke a pipe like father, to get the smell of a man. Or pretending to be mooching about for advertisements when he could have been in Mr. Cuffstill,
Only for what he did then. Sending me to try and patch it up. I could have got him promoted there to be the manager.
He gave me a great rod once or twice. First he was stiff as the mischief. Really and truly, Mrs. Bloom.
Only I felt rotten
simply with the old rubbishy dress that lost the leaves out of her tails.
But they're coming into fashion again. I bought it simply to please him. I knew it was no good by the finish. Pity I changed my mind.
Of going to Todd and Bum's, as I said, and not Lee's. It was just like the shop itself, rummage sale. A lot of trash. I hate those rich shops. Get on your nerves. Nothing kills me altogether, only he thinks he knows a great lot about woman's dress and cooking, mathering everything he can scour
off the shelves into it. If I went by his advices, every blessed hat I put on, does that suit me? Yes, take that. That's all right. The one like a wedding cake standing up miles off my head, he said suited me. Or the dish cover one coming down on my backside, on pins and needles about the shop girl in that place in Grafton Street I had the misfortune to bring him into. And she as insolent as ever she could be.
With her smirk, saying, "I'm afraid we're giving you too much trouble. What she's there for." But I stared it out of her, as he was awfully stiff, and no wonder. But he changed the second time he looked.
Poldy,
pig-headed as usual, like the soup. But I could see him looking very hard at my chest when he stood up to open the door for me. It was nice of him to show me out in any case. I'm extremely sorry, Mrs. Bloom, believe me, without making it too marked the first time after him being insulted and me being supposed to be his wife. Smiled.
I know my chest was out that way.
When he said, "I'm extremely sorry," and I'm sure you were.
Yes, I think for such a moment like that so long. You made me thirsty. Titties, he calls.
I had to laugh. Yes, this one anyhow, stiff and nimble gets for the least thing. I'll get him to keep that up. And I'll take those eggs beaten up with Marcella. Fatten them out
for him.
What are all those veins and things?
Curious
the way it's made.
Two the same in case of twins. They're supposed to represent beauty.
Placed up there like those statues in the museum. One of them pretending to hide it with her hand. Are they so beautiful?
Of course, compared with what a man looks like, with his 2 bags full and this other thing hanging down out of him,
or sticking up at you like a hat rack. No wonder they hide it like a cabbage leaf. The disgusting hammer in our Highlander behind the meat market. Other rich with the
head behind the tree where the statue of the fish used to be. When I was passing, pretending he was pissing, standing out for me to see it with his baby clothes up to one side.
Queen's own.
They were nice.
They were a nice lot. It's well the Surreys relieve them. They're always trying to show it to you. Every time, nearly.
I passed outside the men's greenhouse near the Harcourt Street station just to try some fellow or other trying to catch my eye, as if it was one of the 7 wonders of the world. Oh, and the stink of those rain places. The night coming home with Poldy after the Cumberford party. Oranges and lemonade to make you feel nice and watery.
I went into one of them. It was so biting cold I couldn't keep it. When was that? 93. The canal was frozen. Yes, it was a few months after.
Yes, it was a few months after. Pity a couple of weren't there to see me squatting in the men's place in Darrow.
I tried to draw a picture before I tore it up.
Like a sausage or something. I wonder they're not afraid going about of getting a kick or a bang of something there. The woman is beauty. Of course, that's it. When he said I could pose for a picture naked in some rich when he lost the job, and I was selling the clothes and strumming in the coffee palace.
I'd be like that back.
I'd be like that back
with my hair down.
With my hair down.
Yes, only she's younger. Or am I little like that dirty bitch in the
Spanish photo he has?
Nymphs.
Used they go about like that?
I asked him about her, and that word meant something with hoses in it. And he came out with some jawbreakers about the incarnation. He never can explain a thing simply, the way a body can understand.
Then he goes and burns the bottom out of the pan, all for his kidney. This one not so much.
There's a mark of his teeth still where he tried to bite the nipple. Still to scream out. Aren't they fearful trying to hurt you?
Aren't they fearful trying to hurt you? I had a great breast of milk with Millie. Enough for 2. What was the reason of that? He said I could have got a pound a week as a wet nurse. All swelled out the morning that delicate-looking student that stopped in number 28 with the citron's penrose nearly caught me washing through the window, only for I snapped up the towel to my face.
That was his student who hurt me. They used to weaning her. Till he got Dr. Brady to give me the belladonna prescription. I had to get him to suck them. They were so hard.
Sweeter and thicker than cows. Then he wanted to milk me into the tea.
Well, he's beyond everything, I declare.
Somebody ought to put him in the budget.
If only I could remember one half of the things and write a book out of it.
The works of
Master Poldy.
Yes, and it's so much smoother, the skin. Much an hour he was at them. I'm sure by the clock, like some kind of a big infant I had at me.
They want everything in their mouth.
All the pleasure those men get out of a woman.
I can feel his mouth. Oh Lord, I must stretch myself.
I wish I was here or somebody to let myself go with.
Come again like that. I feel all fire inside.
I could dream it.
Or if I could
When he
dream
made
it.
me spend the second time.
When he
tickling
made
me
me
behind
spend the
with his
second
finger,
time tickling me behind with
I
his
was coming for about 5 minutes with my legs round him.
My legs round him. I had to hug him after.
Oh Lord, I want to
All sorts of things. Fuck or shit or anything at all.
anything at all.
Only not to look ugly are those lines from the strain.
Who knows the way he'd take it?
You
You want to feel your way with a man. They're not all like him.
God. Some of them want you to be so nice about it. I noticed the contrast. He does it and doesn't talk.
Does it and doesn't talk.
I gave my eyes that
gave my
look
eyes
with my
that
hair a
look,
bit
my
loose
hair
from the
a bit
tumbling
loose
and my
from the
tongue
tumbling
between my lips. Up to him, the savage
brute. Thursday, Friday, 1, Saturday,
Sunday 3. Oh Lord, I can't wait till Monday.
Wait till Monday.
Train somewhere. Whistling the strength those engines have in them. Like big giants in the water rolling all over and out of them all sides. Like the end of love's old sweet song. The poor men that have to be out all the night from their wives and families in those roasting engines.
Stifling it was today. I'm glad I burned the half of those old Freemans and photo bits. Leaving things like that lying about, he's getting very careless.
And through the rest of them up in the
WC.
I'll get him to cut them tomorrow for me instead of having them there for the next year. To get a few pence for them. Have him asking where's last
January's paper on all those old overcoats I bundled out of the hall, making the place hotter than it is. The rain was lovely and refreshing just after my beauty sleep. I thought it was going to get like Gibraltar. My goodness, the heat there before the levanter came on, black as night, and the glare of the rocks.
And the glare of the rocks
The big giant compared with their 3 rock mountains.
compared with their 3 rock mountains. I think it's so great.
They're the poplars.
With the red sentries
And they all
here and
white
there,
hot.
the poplars, and they all white hot. Watching the sun all the time. Watching the sun all the time. Weltering down. Faded all. That lovely French father's friend, Mrs. Stanhope, came from the B Marsh in Paris. What a shame, my
very
dearest
nice.
Algerina, she wrote on it. She was very nice. What's this?
Just a PC to tell you.
Just a PC to tell you I sent the
Just
little
had
present.
a jolly
Just had a jolly walk.
Very clean dog.
Very clean.
Enjoyed it, Walker.
Enjoyed it.
Walker.
Walker.
Would give anything
Would give anything to be back in Gibraltar.
Waiting and
Waiting.
waiting.
And
Coney is the name of those exercises.
Coney is the name
He
of
bought me
those
one of those
exercises.
new, some word I couldn't make out, shawls. Amusing things, but tear for the least thing. Still, they're lovely, I think, don't you? We'll always think of the lovely teas we had together. Scrumptious currant scones and raspberry wafers I adore. Well now, dearest Doggerina, be sure and write soon. Kind, she left out. Regards to your father, also Captain Grove. With love, yours affectionately, Hester. XXXXX.
She didn't look a bit married. Just like a girl. He was years older than her, Waber. He was awfully fond of me. When he held down the wire with his foot for me to step over at the bullfight at La Linea, when that matador Gomez was given the bull's ear. These clothes we have to wear, whoever invented them, expecting you to walk up Killiney Hill. Then, for example, at the picnic, all staged up, you can't do a blessed thing in them in a crowd. Run or jump out of the way. That's why I was afraid when that other ferocious old bull began to charge the banderilleros with the sashes and the 2 things in their hats.
And the brutes of men shouting, "Bravo, Toro!" Sure, the women were as bad in their nice white mantillas, ripping all the whole insides out of those poor horses. I never heard of such a thing in all my life. Yes, he used to break his heart at me taking off. The dark barking lanes. What became of them ever?
I suppose they're dead long ago, the two of them. It's like all through a mist. Makes you feel so old.
I made the scones, of course. I had everything all to myself then. A girl Hester used to
compare her hair. Mine was thicker than hers. She showed me how to settle it at the back when I put it up in, what's this else? How to make a knot on a thread with the one hand. We're like cousins.
Arms around me. Then we were fighting in the morning with the pillow. What fun. He was watching me whenever he got an opportunity. At the band on the
Alameda Esplanade when I was with Father and Captain Grove. I looked up at the church first, and then at the windows, then down, and our eyes met. I
felt something go through me like all needles. My eyes were dancing. I remember after, when I looked at myself in the glass, hardly recognized myself. Change. He was attractive to a girl in spite of his being a little bald.
Intelligent looking, disappointed and gay at the same time. He was like Thomas in the shadow of Eschlidiet. Had a splendid skin from the sun and the excitement like a rose. I didn't get a wink of sleep. It would have been nice on account of her. But I could have stopped it in time. She gave me the Moonstone to read. That was the first I read of Wilkie Collins. East Lynne, I read in the shadow of Eschlidiet. Miss Henry Wood.
Henry Dunbar by that other woman I lent him afterwards with Mulvey's photo in it. So as he see, I wasn't without. And Lord Lytton, Eugene Aram, Molly Bond she gave me by Mrs. Hungerford on account of the name. I don't like books with a Molly in them. Like that one he brought me about the one from Flanders. A whore. Always shoplifting anything she could. Cloth and stuff and yards of it.
Oh, this blanket is too heavy on me.
That's better.
I haven't even one decent nightdress. This thing gets all rolled under me, besides him and his fooling.
That's better.
I used to be weltering then in the heat. My shift drenched with the sweat stuck in the cheeks of my bottom on the chair. When I stood up, they were so fattish and firm. When I got up on the sofa cushions to see with my clothes up, and the bugs, tons of them at night, and the mosquito net, I couldn't read a line.
Lord, how long ago it seemed. Centuries. Of course they never came back.
And she didn't put her address right on it either. She may have noticed her logger. People were always going away, and we never. I remember that day with the waves and the boats with their high heads rocking and their high ships.
Those officers' uniforms on shore leave made me seasick. He didn't say anything. He was very serious. I had the high-buttoned boots on, and my skirt was blowing. She kissed me 6 or 7 times.
Didn't I cry?
I believe I did, or near it. My lips were teetering when I said goodbye. She had a gorgeous wrap of some special kind of blue color
on her for the voyage,
made peculiarly to one side like, and it was extremely pretty.
It got as dull as the devil after they went. I was almost planning to run away in that, out of it somewhere. We're never easy where we are. Father or aunt in marriage. Waiting, always waiting.
To guide him to me. Waiting.
Nor speed his flying feet. Their damn guns bursting and booming all over the shop, especially the Queen's birthday, and throwing everything down in all directions if you didn't open the windows when General Ulysses Grant, whoever he was or did, supposed to be some great fellow, landed off the ship.
An old Sprague, the consul that was there from before the flood,
dressed up. Poor man, and he in mourning for the sun. Then the same old bugles for reveille in the morning, and drums rolling,
and the unfortunate poor devils of soldiers walking about with messed and smelling places more than long-bearded Jews and Levites and sound clear and gunfire across the lines, and the warden marching his keys to lock the gates
and the bagpipes, and only Captain Groves and Father talking about Rorke's Drift. And Plevna and Sir Garnet Wolseley and Gordon at Khartoum,
lighting their pipes for them every time they went out. Drunken old devil with his grog on the windowsill. Catch him leaving any of it. Picking his nose trying to think of some other dirty story to tell up in the corner. But he never forgot himself when I was there.
Sending me out of the room on some blind excuse, paying his compliments.
The Bushmills whiskey talking, of course.
But he'd do the same to the next woman that came along.
I suppose he died of galloping drink ages ago. Days like years. A letter from a living soul. Except the outside bits of paper in them.
So bored sometimes I could fight with my nails. listening to that old Arab with one eye and his chaos of an instrument singing his hey-ya, 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 hey-ya.
And I come
All my peppermints on your hot
hanging off
As
me,
bad as now,
looking out of the window.
There was a
There was
nice fellow, even in
in
the opposite house. At Medical in Hollis Street, the nurse was after. When I put on my gloves and hat at the window to show I was going out, not a notion what I meant. Aren't they thick? Never understand what you say. Even you'd want to print it up on a big poster for them.
Not even if you shake hands twice with the left. He didn't recognize me either, when I half frowned at him outside Westland Road Chapel. Where does their great intelligence come in, I'd like to know? Gray matter. They have it all in their tail, if you ask me. Those country gougers up in the city arms. Intelligence. They had a damn sight less than the bulls and cows they were selling the meat.
And the Coleman's bell, that noisy bugger trying to swindle me with the wrong bill he took out of his hat. What a pair of paws and pots and pans
and kettles to mend.
Any
broken bottles for a poor man today. And no visitors are post ever, except his checks or some advertisement, like that wonder worker they sent him addressed
Dear Madam. Only his letter and the card from Millie this morning. See, she wrote a letter to him. Who did I get the last letter from? Oh, Mrs. Dwen. Now, what possessed her to write from Canada after so many years? To know the recipe I had for Pisto Madrilena.
Chloe Dillon, since she writes, she was married to a very rich architect. If I'm to believe all I hear with the villa and 8 rooms. Her father was an awfully nice man. He was near 70. Always good humor.
Well now,
Miss Tweedy or Miss Gillespie, there's the piano. That was a solid silver coffee service he had, too, on the mahogany sideboard.
And dying so far away. I hate people that have always their poor story to tell. Everybody has their own troubles. That poor Nancy Blake died a month ago of acute pneumonia. Well, I didn't know her so well as all that. She was Chloe's friend more than mine. Poor Nancy. It's a bother having to answer. He always tells me the wrong things, and no stops to say, like making a speech. Your sad bereavement, sympathy. I always make that mistake. And Newfew, with 2 W's in. I hope he'll write me a longer letter the next time, if it's a thing he really likes me.
Oh, thanks be to the great God I got somebody to give me what I badly wanted.
Put some heart up into me. You've no chances at all in this place like you used long ago. I wish somebody would write me a love letter. His wasn't much, and I told him he can write what he liked. Yours ever, Hugh Boylan, Old Madrid. Stuff silly when we believe love is. Signed, dying. Still, if you only wrote it, I suppose there'd be some truth in it. True or no, it fills up your whole day in life.
Always something to think about every moment. You see it all around you like a new world. I could write the answer in bed to let him imagine me. Short. Just a few words. Not those long cross letters Addie Dillon used to write to the fellow that was something in the 4 courts that jilted her after, out of the lady's letter writer, when I told her to say a few simple words he could twist. How he liked not acting with precipitancy, with equal candor, with the greatest earthly happiness. Answer to a gentleman's proposal, affirmative. My goodness, there's nothing else. It's all very fine for them.
But as for being a woman, as soon as you're old, they might as well throw you out in the bottom of the ash pit.
Mulvey's was first when I was in bed that morning, and Mrs. Rubio brought it in with the coffee. She stood there standing when I asked her to hand me, and I pointing at them. I couldn't think of the word, a hairpin to open it with. Ah, Horquilla! Disobliging old thing. And it's staring her in the face. With her switch of false hair on her and vain about her appearance, ugly as she was, near 80 or 100, her face a mass of wrinkles.
With all her religion domineering because she never could get over the Atlantic fleet coming in. Half the ships of the world and the Union Jack flying with all her carabineros, because 4 drunken English sailors took all the rock from them. Because I didn't run into Mass often enough, Santa Maria to please her with her shawl up on her. Except when there was a marriage on. With all her miracles of the saints and her black, blessed Virgin with a silver dress, and the sun dancing 3 times on Easter Sunday morning. when the priest was going by with the bell, bringing the Vatican to the dying, blessing herself for his majesty.
An admirer, he signed it. I near jumped out of my skin. I wanted to pick him up when I saw him follow me along the Calle Real in the shop window. Then he tipped me just in passing. But I never thought he'd write making an appointment. I had it inside my petticoat bodice all day, reading it up in every hole and corner while Father was up at the drill instructing, to find out by the handwriting or the language of stamps.
Singing.
Singing, I remember, shall I wear a white robe?
And I wanted to put on the clock to near the time. He was the first man kissed me under the Moorish wall. My sweetheart under the Moorish wall. It never entered my head what kissing meant.
It never entered my head what kissing meant till he put his tongue in my mouth.
His mouth was sweet like young.
His mouth was sweet like young. I put my knee up to him a few times to learn the way. What did I tell him I was engaged for? For fun? To the son of a Spanish nobleman named Don Miguel de la Flor. And he believed me that I was to be married to him in 3 years' time. There's many a true word spoken in jest.
There is a flower that bloometh.
There is a flower that bloometh. A few things I told him true about myself, just for him to be imagining the Spanish girls he didn't like. I suppose one of them wouldn't have him. I got him excited.
He crushed all the flowers on my bosom he brought me. He couldn't count Caesars and the Paragordas till I taught him.
Capricorn he came from, he said, on the black water, but it was too short. Then the day before he left, May. Yes, it was May, when the infant king of Spain was born.
I'm always like that in the spring. I'd like a new fellow every year. Up on the tip-top under the rocks down near O'Hara's tower. I told him it was struck by lightning, and all about the old Barbary apes they sent to Clapham without a tail careering all over the show on each other's backs. Mrs. Rubio said she was a regular old rock scorpion, robbing the chickens out of the Ince's farm, and throw stones at you if you went near.
He was looking at me. I had that white blouse on, open in the front to encourage him as much as I could without too openly. They were just beginning to be plump. I said I was tired. We lay over the fir tree cove, a wild place.
I suppose it must be the highest rock in existence. The galleries and casements of those frightful rocks in St. Michael's Cave, with the icicles or whatever they call them hanging down, and ladders.
All the mud touching my boots. I'm sure that's the way down. The monkeys go under the sea to Africa when they die. The ships out far like chips. That was the Malta boat passing. Yes, the sea and the sky. You could do what you liked. Lie there forever. He caressed them outside. They loved doing that. It's the roundness there. I was leaning over him with my white rice straw hat to take the newness out of it. The left side of my face the best. The blouse open for his last day. Transparent kind of shirt he had. I could see his chest, pink. He wanted to touch mine as his for a moment, but I wouldn't let him.
He was awfully put out.
First,
for fear of
You never know consumption or leave me with a child. And there's us. That old servant Inez told me that one drop, even if got into you at all.
After I tried with the banana, but I was afraid it might break and get lost up in me somewhere.
Because they once took something down out of a woman that was up there for years covered with lime salts. They're all mad to get in there where they come out of.
You'd think they could never go far enough up. And then they're done with you in a way. Till the next time. Yes, because there's a wonderful feeling there, so tender all the time. How did we finish it off?
Yes, oh yes, I pulled him off into my handkerchief.
I pulled him off into my handkerchief, pretending not to be excited, but I opened my legs. I wouldn't let him touch me inside my petticoat because I had a skirt opening up the sides. I tormented the life out of him, first tickling him. I love rousing that dog in the hotel.
His eyes shut and a bird flying below us. He was shy all the same. I liked him like that, moaning. I made him blush a little when I got over him that way. When I unbuttoned him and took his out and drew back the skin, it had a kind of eye in it. They're all buttons, men, down the middle, on the wrong side of them. Molly, darling, he called me. What was his name? Jack, Joe, Harry, Molly, was it? Yes, I think. A lieutenant.
He was rather fair. He had a laughing kind of voice, so I went round to the... What do you call it? Everything was, what do you call it?
He said he'd come back.
Mustache had.
Lord, he said he'd like yesterday to me. And if I was married, he'd do it to me. And I promised him, yes, faithfully, I'd let him block me. Now flying. Perhaps he's dead, or killed, or a captain or admiral. It's nearly 20 years. If I said Fir Tree Cove, he would. If he came up behind me and put his hands over my eyes to guess who, I might recognize him.
He's young still, about 40.
Perhaps he's married some girl in the Blackwater and is quite changed.
They all do.
They haven't half the character a woman has. She little knows what I did with her beloved husband before he ever dreamt of her.
In broad
daylight, too. In the sight of a whole world, you might say. They could have put an article about it in the Chronicle. I
was a bit wild after when I blew up the old bag the biscuits were in from the Nagy brothers and exploded. Lord, what a bang. All the woodcocks and pigeons screaming, coming back the same way that we
over
went.
Middle Hill ran the guardhouse and the Jews' burial place, pretending to read out the Hebrew on them. I wanted to fire his pistol. He said he had one. He didn't know what to make me. With his peak cap on, that he always wore crooked often as I settled the straight. HMS Calypso, my hat. That old bishop that spoke off the altar about women's higher functions, about girls now riding
the bicycle and wearing peak caps.
God sent him sense
and me more money. I suppose they're called after him.
I never
thought that would be my name, Bloom. When I used to write in print to see how it looked on a visiting card, or practicing for the butcher and oblige.
M. Bloom, you're looking blooming.
You're looking blooming, Joyce used to say after I married him. Well, it's better than Briggs. Briggs does brig. Or those awful names with bottom in them. Mrs. Ramsbottom, or some other kind of bottom. Mulvey. I wouldn't go mad about either. Or suppose I divorced him.
Mrs. Boylan. My mother, whoever she was, might have given me a nicer name. The Lord knows. After the lovely one she had, Lunita Laredo. The fun we had running along Willis Road to Europa
Twisting
Point.
in and out all around the other side of Jersey. They were shaking and dancing about in my blouse, like Millie's little ones now when she runs up the stairs. I loved looking down at them. I was jumping up at the pepper trees and the white poplars, pulling the leaves off and throwing them at him. He went to India. He was to write. The voyages those men have to make to the ends of the world and back. It's the least they might get a squeeze or two at a woman while they can, going out to be drowned or blown up somewhere. I went up Windmill Hill to the flats that Sunday morning with Captain Rubius. That was dead spyglass like the Sentry had. He said he'd have one or two from on board. I wore that frock from the Beamer and the coral necklace, the straight shine. I could see over to Morocco,
almost the Bay of Tangier. White, and the Atlas Mountain with snow on it, and the straits like a river so clear. Harry, Molly, darling, I was thinking of him on the sea all the time after at Mass when my petticoat began to slip down at the elevation. Weeks and weeks I kept the handkerchief under my pillow for the smell of him. There was no decent perfume to be got in that world, only that cheap Peau d'Espagne that faded and left a stink on you more than anything else.
I wanted to give him a
memento. He gave me that clumsy clattering for luck that I gave Gardner going to South Africa where those Boers killed him with their war fever. But they were well beaten all the same, as if it brought its bad luck with it, like an opal or pearl. Still, it must have been pure 18 gold because it's very heavy. But what could you get in a place like that? The sand frost shower from Africa and that derelict ship that came up to the harbor. Marie. The Marie, what do you call it? No, he hadn't a mustache. Yes, his face clean shaven. Free from that train tone. Once in the dear dead days beyond recall. Close my eyes, breathe, my lips forward, kiss, my lips forward, look, eyes open, piano, air, o'er the world the mist began. O'er the world the mist began. I hate that it's big. Comes love's sweet song. I'll let that out full when I get in front of the footlights again. Kathleen Carney and her lot of squealers. Miss this, miss that, miss the other.
A lot of sparrow farts getting around talking about politics.
They know as much about as my backside. Anything in the world to make themselves some way interesting.
Irish homemade beauties. Soldier's daughter am I. And whose are you? Bootmakers and publicans. I beg your pardon, Coach. I thought you were a wheelbarrow.
They die down dead off their feet if ever they got a chance of walking down the Alameda. An officer's arm like me on the band night. My eyes flash.
Bust that they haven't
Bust that
passion.
they haven't passion.
God help their poor
God
head.
help their poor head.
I knew more about men and life when I was 15 than they'll all know at 50. They don't know how to sing a song like that. Gardner said no man could look at my mouth and teeth smiling like that and not think of it. I was afraid he mightn't like my accent first. He's so English. All father left me in spite of his stance.
I've my mother's eyes.
I've my mother's eyes and figure,
He
anyhow.
always said they're so snotty about themselves, those cads. He wasn't a bit like that. He was dead gone.
He was dead gone on my lips.
Let them get a husband first that's fit to be looked at, and a daughter like mine. Or see if they can excite a swell with money that can choose whoever he wants, like boys.
Whoever he wants,
Do it
like
4
boys.
or 5 times, locked in each
To do it 4 or 5 times locked in each other's arms. Or the voice either. I could have been a prima donna. Only I married him. Comes love's old deep down. Chin back, not too much. Make it double. My lady's bower is too long for an encore. About the moated grange at twilight in vaunted rooms. Yes, I'll sing Winds That Blow from the South that he gave after the choir stairs performance. I'll change that lace on my black dress to show off my boobs.
Yes, by God, I'll get that thin
Make them burst and burst. Hole is itching me always when I think of him. I feel I want to. I feel some wind in me. Better go easy, not wake him. Back him at it again, slobbering, after washing every bit of myself, back, belly, and sides.
If we even had a bath itself, or my own room, anyway.
If we even had a bath
She'd
itself.
sleep in some bed by himself. With his cold feet on me. Give us room even to let a fart. God, or do the least thing better. Yes, hold them like that a bit on my side. Piano quietly. Sweet. There's that train far away. Pianissimo.
One more song.
One more song.
That was a relief.
relief.
Wherever you be, let your wind go free. Who knows if that poor child who took my company's kiosk was quite good? I couldn't smell anything. I'm sure that queer-looking man in the pork butcher's is a great rogue. I hope that lamp is not smoking. Fill my nose up with smuts. Better than having him leaving the gas on all night. I couldn't rest
Easy as in bed at Gibraltar. Even get enough to see.
Why am I so damn nervous about that, though? I like
it in the winter. It's more company. Oh, Lord, it was rotten cold, too, that winter when I was only about 10. Was I?
Yes, I had the big doll with all the funny clothes, dressing her up and undressing. That icy wind speeding across from those mountains to something Nevada. Sierra Nevada. Standing at the fire with a little bit of a short shift I had up to heat myself. I love dancing. Then make a race back. I'm sure that fellow opposite used to be there the whole time watching with the lights out in the summer.
And I in my skin hopping around. I used to love myself then, stripped at the washstand, dabbing and creaming only when it came to the chamber performance.
I put out the light too. So then there were 2 of us. Goodbye
to my sleep for this night, anyhow.
I hope he's not going to get in with those
He's not
medicals,
going to
leading him
get in
astray
with
to
those
imagine he's
medicals,
young
leading him
again.
astray to
Coming
imagine
in at
he's
4
young
in the
again.
morning.
Coming in at 4 in the morning.
It must be.
had
if not
must
more.
be, if not
Still,
more.
he had the manners not to
Still,
wake me.
he had the
What do
manners
they
not to
find
wake
to
me.
jabber about all
What do they find to jabber about all night?
Squandering money and getting drunker and drunker.
Couldn't they drink water? Then he starts giving us his order for eggs and tea and Fendon Hattie and hot buttered toast. I suppose we'll have him sitting up like the king of the country, pumping the wrong end of the spoon up and down in his egg. Wherever he learned that from. And I love to hear him
falling up the stairs of a morning with the cups rattling on the tray and then play with the cat. She rubs up against you for her own sake.
She's as bad as a woman always licking him.
She's as bad as a woman always licking and licking. But I hate their claws.
I hate their claws. I wonder, do they see anything that we can't, staring like that? When she sits at the top of the stairs so long and listening as I wait always? What a robber, too. That lovely fresh place. I bought... I think I'll get a bit of fish tomorrow.
Or today. Is it Friday?
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will. With some blamage with
black currant jam, like long ago. Not those 2-pound pots of mixed plum and apple from the London and Newcastle. Williams and Woods goes twice as far, only for the bones. I hate those eels. Yes, I'll get a nice piece of cod. I'm always getting enough for 3, forgetting.
Anyway, I'm sick of that everlasting butcher's meat from Buckley's. Loin chops, and leg beef, rib steak, and scrag of mutton, and calf's pluck. The very name is enough. Or a picnic. Suppose we all do 5 each, or let him pay it and invite some other woman.
Who?
Mrs.
Fleming.
And drove out to
the Furry Glen or the strawberry beds.
Examining all the
We'd have
horses'
him
toenails
examine
first,
all the
like he
horses'
does with the
toenails
letters.
first,
No,
like he
not
does
the
with the
letters.
letter.
Yes,
No,
with
not
some
with
cold
boiling
veal and ham.
Yes, cold veal and ham.
There are little houses down.
There are little houses down at the bottom of the banks there on purpose. But it's as hot
hot
as
as
blazes.
blazes.
He says. Not a bank holiday
Not a
anyhow.
bank holiday.
I hate those ruck of Marianne coal boxes out for the day. Whit Monday is a cursed day, too. No wonder
that bee bit him. Better the seaside. But I'd never again in this life get into a boat with him. After him at Bray telling the boatman he knew how to row, if anyone asked could he ride the steeplechase with a gold cup, he'd say yes. Then it came on to get rough, the old thing crooketing about and the weight all down my side.
telling me pull the right reins, now pull the left, and the tide all swamping and his flood swam through the bottom, and his oar
slipping out of the
He can
stirrup.
swim, of
It's
course.
a mercy we weren't
all
around.
drowned.
He can swim,
Of course.
Me, no.
Me,
No danger whatsoever.
No danger
Keep yourself
whatsoever.
calm.
Keep yourself
Flannel
calm.
trousers.
In his flannel
I'd
trousers.
like to have tattered them down off him before all the people, and give him what that one calls flagellate till he was black and blue. Do him all the good in the world.
Only for that long-nosed chap, I don't know who he is, but that other beauty Burke out of the City Arms Hotel was there, spying around as usual on the slip, always where he wasn't wanted.
If there was a row on, he'd vomit a better face. There was no love lost between us, that's one consolation.
I wonder what kind is that book he brought me. Sweets of Sin by a Gentleman of Fashion. Some other Mr. Descartes. I suppose the people gave him that nickname
going about with his tube from one woman to another. I couldn't even change my new white shoes, all ruined with the salt water.
And the hat I had, that feather,
Blowy and tossed on me. How annoying and provoking. Because the smell of the sea excited me, of course. The sardines in the Bremen Catalan Bay around the back of the rock. They were fine, all silver in the fishermen's baskets.
Old Luigi, near 100, they said, came from Genoa. And the tall, old chap with the earrings, I don't like a man you have to climb up to get at. I suppose they're all dead and rotten long ago. Besides, I don't like being alone in this big
barracks of a place at night. I suppose I'll have to put up with it. I never brought a bit of salt in, even when we moved in the confusion. Musical academy he was going to make on the first floor drawing room with a brass plate, or Bloom's private hotel, he suggested. He would go and ruin himself altogether the way his father did down in Ennis.
Like all the things he told father he was going to do, and me. But I saw through him, telling me all the lovely places we could go for the honeymoon. Venice by moonlight with the gondolas and the Lake of Como. He had a picture cut out of some paper, and mandolins and lanterns. Oh, how nice, I said.
Whatever I liked, he was going to do immediately, if not sooner.
Will you carry my can?
Will you be my man? Will you carry my can?
He ought to get a leather medal with a putty rim for all the plans he invents, then leaving us here all day. You'd never know what old beggar at the door for a crust with his long story might be a tramp and put his foot in the way to prevent me shutting it. Like that picture of that hardened criminal who was called Lloyd's Weekly News.
20 years in jail, then he comes out and murders an old woman for her money. Imagine his poor wife or mother, whoever she is.
Such a face you'd run miles away from.
I couldn't rest easy till I bolted all the doors and windows to make sure. But it's worse again being locked up like in a prison or a madhouse.
They had to be all shot. Out of 9 tails. A big brute like that would attack a poor old woman to murder her in her bed.
Murder her in her bed.
So I would.
I'd cut them off him, so I would.
Still better than
Not that he'd be much use. Still better than nothing in the night. I was
The
sure
night I was sure I heard burglars in the kitchen, and he went down in his shirt with a candle and a poker as if he was looking for a mouse, as white as a sheet, frightened out of his wits, making as much noise as he possibly could for the burglar's benefit.
There isn't
much to steal, indeed, the Lord knows. Still, it's the feeling, especially now with Millie away.
Such an idea for him to send the girl down there to learn to take photographs on account of his grandfather, instead of sending her to Scary
Academy where she'd have to learn.
Not like me
getting
getting
it
once at school. Only he'd do a thing like that all the same on account of me and Boylan.
That's why he did it, I'm certain. The way he plots and plans everything out.
Now,
I couldn't
turn
turn
around
around
from
the
the
place
place
lately unless I bolted the door first. Gave me the fidgets coming and knocking first. When I put the chair against the door, just as I was washing myself there below the glove. Get on your nerves. Then doing the log lady all day.
put
Put
her
her
in
in
a
a glass case
case
with two at a time to look at her.
If he knew she broke
If
off
he
the
knew
hand,
she broke off the
hand
hand off that little Jim Crack statue with her roughness and carelessness before she left, that I got that little Italian boy to mend so that you can't see the joint for 2 shillings.
wouldn't even team the potatoes for you.
Of course, she's right not to ruin her hands. I noticed
he was always talking to her lately at the table, explaining things in the paper, and she pretended to understand.
Sly, of course. That comes from his side of the house. He can't say I pretend things, can he? I'm too honest as a matter of fact in helping her into her coat.
But if there
But
was
if there was
anything,
anything,
Not him. I suppose he thinks I'm finished out and laid on the shelf.
not.
Well, I'm not. No, nor anything like it. We'll see.
She's
We'll
well on
see
for
now.
flirting, too.
She's well on for flirting too, with Tom Devon's 2 sons, imitating me
whistling, with those romps of Murray girls calling for her. Can Millie come out, please? She's in great demand.
Can
To
out
pick
of her
what they
round
can
in
out of
Nelson
her
Street,
round
riding
Nelson Street,
Harry Devon's
riding
bicycle
Harry
at night.
Devon's bicycle at
It's as well he sent her where she is. She was just getting out of bounds, wanting to go on the skating rink and smoking their cigarettes through their nose. I smelt it off her dress when I was biting off the thread of the button I sewed onto the bottom of her jacket. She couldn't hide much from me, I tell you. Only I ought to have stitched it. And it's on her.
It brings a parting.
And
The last plum pudding, too, split in 2 halves. See, it comes out no matter what they say.
Her tongue is
Tongue is a bit too long for my taste.
Your blouse is open too low, she says to me. The
Pan calling the kettle
black
black bottom.
And I had to tell her not to cock her legs up like that on show on the windowsill before all the people passing.
They all
look at
like
her
me
like me when I was her age. Of course, any old rag looks well on you. A great
touch-me-not, too, in her own way. At the only way in the Theatre Royale. Take your foot away out of that.
Hate people touching me. Afraid of her life, I'd crush her skirt with the pleats. A lot of that touching must go on in theaters.
And the crush in the dark they're always trying to wiggle up to you. That fellow in the pit at the Gaiety for Beerbone Tree in Trilby. The last time I'll ever go there. To be squashed.
Last time I'll ever go there.
To be squashed like that for any Trilby or her bare bum every 2 minutes, tipping me there and looking away.
He's a bit daft. I think I
saw
saw
him after trying to get near 2
stylish
dressed ladies outside Switzer's window.
The same little game.
game.
I recognized him on the moment, the face and everything. But he didn't
remember me. Yes, and she didn't even want me to kiss her at the Broadstone going away. Well, I hope she'll get someone to dance. Attendance on her the way I did when she was down with the mumps and her glands swollen. Where's this? Where's that? Of course
she can't feel anything deep yet. I never came properly till I was, 22 or so? It went into the wrong place
always. Only the usual girls' nonsense and giggling. That Connie Connolly writing to her in white ink on black paper sealed with sealing wax.
So she clapped when the curtain came down because he looked so handsome.
And we had Martin Harvey for breakfast, dinner, and supper. I thought to myself afterwards, it must be real love if a man gives up his life for her that way for nothing. I suppose there are
a few men like that left. It's hard to believe in it, though, unless it really happened to me.
The majority of them not a particle of love in their natures. To find 2 people like that nowadays full up of each other that would feel the same way as you do.
They're usually a bit foolish in the head.
His father must have been a bit queer to go and poison himself after her. Still, poor old man, I suppose he felt lost.
She's always making love
to my sins, too. Wanting to put her hair up at 15. My powder, too.
She's time enough
for
all
that.
Her life after.
Of course she's restless knowing she's pretty. With her lips so red. A pity they won't stay that way. I was too, but there's no use going to the fair with them. Answering me like a fishwoman when I asked to go for half a stone of potatoes.
The day we met Mrs.
Joe Gallagher at the trotting matches, and she pretended not to see us in her trap at Friary, the solicitor. We weren't grand enough until I gave her 2 damn fine cracks across the ear for herself. Take that now for answering me like that. And that for your impudence. She had me that exasperated. Of course, contradicted me. I was bad-tempered too, because how was it? There was a weed in the tea.
There was a weed in the tea, or I didn't sleep the night before. Cheese I ate, was it? And I told her over and over again not to leave knives crossed like that, because she has nobody to command her.
Well, if he doesn't correct her, please I will. That was the last time.
She turned on the tear tap. I was just like myself. They daren't order me about the place.
It's his fault.
His fault, having the two of us
here instead of getting in a woman long ago. Am I ever going to have a proper servant again? Of course. Then she'd see him coming. I'd have to let her know, or she'd revenge it. Aren't they a nuisance? That old Mrs. Fleming. You have to be walking round after her, putting the things into her hands, sneezing and farting into the pots. Well, of course, she's old. She can't help it.
A good job. I found that rotten old smelly dishcloth that got lost behind the dresser. I knew
there was something.
I opened the area window to let out the smell, bringing in his friends to entertain them. Like the night he walked home with the dog. If you please, that might have been bad. Especially Simon Badle's son. His father, such a criticizer with his glasses up, with his tall hat on, at the cricket match, and a great big hole in his
One thing laughing at the other.
One thing laughing at the other. And his son that got all those prizes for whatever he won them in the intermediate. Imagine climbing over the railings. If anybody saw him that knew us, I wonder he didn't tear a big hole in his grand funeral trousers.
As if the one nature gave wasn't enough for anybody. Hawking him down into the dirty old kitchen. Now,
is he right in his head? Pity it was washing day. My old pair of drawers might have been hanging up 2 on the exhibition with the iron mold mark, the stupid old bundle burned on them, you might think was something else.
And she never even rendered down the fat, I told her. And now she's going such as she was on account of her paralyzed husband getting worse. There's always something wrong. Disease, or they have to go under an operation. Or if it's not that, it's drink. And he beats her. I'll have to be around again for someone. Every day I get up, there's some new thing. God. Well, when I'm stretched out dead in my grave, I suppose I'll have some peace.
I want to get
up a minute if I'm let. Wait. Oh, Jesus, wait.
Yes, that
thing has come on me. Yes, now wouldn't that afflict you? Of course, all the poking and rooting and plowing he had up in me. Now what am I to do? Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Wouldn't that pester the soul out of a body? Unless he likes it. Some men do, God knows. There's always something wrong with us.
5 days every 3 or 4 weeks. Usual monthly auction, isn't it simply sickening? That night it came on me like that.
That night it came on me like that. The one and only time, like Fox, that might have done Kendall and her husband at the game. Something she did about insurance for him. I was fit to be tied, though. I wouldn't give in. With that gentleman of fashion staring down at me with his glasses.
And to him, the other side of me, talking about Spinoza and his soul that's dead, I suppose, millions of years ago.
I smiled the best I could, all in a swamp,
leaning forward as if
I was interested. Having to sit it out then to the last tag.
I won't forget that wife of Scarley in a hurry.
Supposed to be a fast play about adultery. That idiot in the gallery hissing. The woman adulteress, he shouted. I suppose he went and had a woman in the next lane running round all the back ways after to make up for it. I wish he had what I had. Then he booed. I bet the cat itself is better off than us.
Have we too much blood up in us, or what? Oh, patience above, it's pouring out of me like the sea.
Anyhow, he didn't make me pregnant as big as he is. I don't want to ruin the clean sheet that is
I suppose the clean
linen I wore brought it on too.
Damn it.
And they always
wanted to see a stain on the bed,
to know you're a virgin. That's trouble. They're such fools, too.
You could be a widow or divorced 40 times over. A daub of red would do, or blackberry juice. No, that's too purpley.
Oh, James,
James,
let me
out
out
of
of
this.
Sweets of sin. Whoever suggested that business for women, what between clothes and cooking and children, this damned old bed too, jingling like the dickens. I suppose they could hear us way over the other side of the park.
So I suggested to put the quilt on the floor with a pillow under my bottom. I wonder, is it nice during the day? I think it is
easy.
I think I'll cut all his hair off
there, scalding me. I
might
look
look
like a young girl. Wouldn't he
get the great sucking the next time he turned up my clothes on me?
I'd give anything
I'd
to see
give
his
anything
face.
to see his face.
Where's the chamber gone?
Where's the chamber gone?
I have a holy
Easy,
horror.
I have a
that's
holy
breaking
horror
under
that's
me.
breaking under me after that old
I wonder, was I too heavy sitting on his knee?
I wonder, was I too heavy sitting on his knee? I made him sit on the easy chair purposely when I took off only my blouse and skirt first in the other room. He's so busy where he ought
I hope
to
my
be.
breath was sweet after this.
Never
Holy
felt
horror.
this.
sweet after
I hope my
those
breath
easy
was
puffs.
sweet after those.
I remember one time I could
scout it out straight, whistling like a man almost. Easy. How noisy.
I hope there
I
are
hope there are bubbles on it for a wad of money from some fellow.
I'll have to perfume it in the morning. Don't forget.
I
I bet he never saw a better pair of thighs than that.
Look how white
Look
they
how
are.
white they are.
The smoothest place is right there,
right
between
there,
this bit
between
here.
this bit here.
How soft like a
How
peach.
soft, like a peach. Easy, God.
I wouldn't mind being a man and get up on a lovely woman. Oh Lord, what a row you're making like the Jersey Lily. Easy. Easy. Oh, how the waters come down at Lahore.
Who knows? Is there anything the matter with my insides, or have I something growing in me? Getting that thing like that every week. When was it last night? Whit Monday. Yes, it's only about 3 weeks.
It's only about
I had to go to the doctor, only it would be like before I married him. When I had that white thing coming from me, and Chloe made me go to that dry old stick Dr. Collins for women's diseases on Pembroke Road. Your vagina, he called it.
Your vagina.
That's how he got
I
it.
suppose that's how he got all the gilt mirrors and carpets, getting round those rich ones off Stephen's Green,
Running up to him for every little fiddle-faddle. Her vagina and her Cochin China. They've money, of course, so they're all right. I wouldn't marry him, not if he was the last man in the world. Besides, there's something queer about their children always smelling around those filthy bitches all sides,
asking me if what I did had an offensive odor. What did he want me to do but the one thing? Gold, maybe. What a question. If I smothered it all over his wrinkly old face for him with all my compliments, I suppose he'd know then.
And could you pass it easily?
Pass what? I thought he was talking about the Rock of Gibraltar, the way he put it. That's a very nice invention, too, by the way. Only I like letting myself down after the hole as far as I can squeeze and pull the chain, then flush it. Nice cool
pins and needles.
Still, there's something in it, I suppose. I always used to know by Millie's when she was a child whether she had worms or not.
Still, all the same, paying him for that. How much is that, doctor? 1 guinea, please. And asking me, had I frequent omissions? Where do those old fellows get all the words they have? Omissions with his short-sighted eyes on me cocked sideways. I wouldn't trust him too far to give me chloroform or God knows what else. Still, I liked him when he sat down to write the thing out, frowning so severe, his nose intelligent like that. You'd be damned, you lying strap. Oh, anything. No matter who except an idiot. I was clever enough to spot that, of course. That was all thinking of him.
And his mad, crazy letters. My precious one. Everything connected with Gloria's body. Everything underlined. That comes from his thing of beauty and joy forever. Something that God out of some nonsensical book that he always at my soul 4 or 5 days sometimes.
And I said I hadn't. Are you sure?
Oh, yes,
I said, I'm quite sure in a way that shut him up.
Sure, in a way that shut him up.
I
knew what was coming next.
Only natural
weakness it was. He
excited
excited me. I don't know how. The first night ever we met, I was living in Rehoboth
When I was living in Rehoboth Terrace, we stood staring at one another for about 10 minutes as if we met somewhere. I suppose on account of my being Jewess-looking after my mother. He used to amuse me.
The things he said with the half-slithering smile on him. And all the Doyles said he was going to stand for a member of Parliament.
Now wasn't I the born fool to believe all his blather about Home Rule and the Land League, sending me to that long stroll of a song out of the Huguenots to sing in French to be more classy. au beau pays de la Touraine, that I never even sang once,
explaining and rigmaroling about religion and persecution. He won't let you enjoy anything naturally. Then might he is a great favor. The very first opportunity he got a chance in Brighton Square running into my bedroom, pretending the ink got on his hands, to wash it off with the Albion, the sulfur soap I used to use,
and the gelatin still round it. Oh, I laughed myself sick at him that day.
I better not
make an all-night sitting affair.
They ought to make chambers of natural size so that a woman could sit on it properly.
He kneels down to do it.
I suppose there isn't another man with the habits he has.
Look at the way he's sleeping at the foot of the bed. How can he without a hard bolster?
It's well he doesn't care. He might knock out all my teeth, breathing with his hand on his nose. Like that Indian god he took me to show one wet Sunday in the museum in Kildare Street, all yellow
in a pinafore, lying on his side on his hand with his 10 toes sticking out. That he said was a bigger religion than the Jews and our lords both put together all over Asia, imitating him as he's always imitating everybody. I suppose he used to sleep at the foot of the bed too, with his big square feet up in his wife's mouth. Damn this stinking thing anyway. Where's those napkins?
Napkins are.
Yes,
I know.
I hope the old press doesn't creak.
Oh, I knew it would.
He's sleeping hard.
Had a good time somewhere.
Still, she must have given him great value for his money. Of course he has to pay for it from her. Oh, this nuisance of a thing. I hope they'll have something better for us in the other world, tying ourselves up. God help us. That's all right for tonight.
Now the lumpy bed always reminds me of old Cohen. I suppose he scratched himself in it often enough.
And he thinks
Father bought it from Lord Navdace that I used to admire when I was a little girl because I told him,
easy piano.
Like
my bed.
God.
Here we are as bad as ever after 16 years. How many houses were we in it all? Raymond Terrace and Ontario Terrace and Lombard Street and Hollis Street.
And he goes about whistling
every time we run again.
His Huguenots and the Frogs March, pretending to help the men with our 4 sticks of furniture. And then City Arms Hotel.
Worse and worse, says Warden Daly.
That charming place on the landing. Always
somebody inside praying, then leaving all their stinks after them.
Always know who is in there last.
Every time we're just getting on right, something happens.
Or he puts his big foot in it.
Toms and Hellies and Mr. Cuffs and Drimmies. Either he's going to be running to prison
over his old lottery tickets that was to be all our salvation, so he goes and gets impudence.
We'll have him coming home with the sack soon, out of the Freemen too, like the rest, on account of those Sinn Fein or the Freemasons. Then we'll see if the little man showed me dribbling all by himself,
round by Cody's Lane, gets him much consolation that he says is so capable and sincerely Irish. He is indeed, judging by the sincerity of the trousers I saw on him. Wait, there's George's church bells. Wait, 3/4,
the hour.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock?
Wow.
Well, that's a nice hour
tonight. Coming home to anybody down the area.
If anybody saw him, I'll knock him off that little habit tomorrow. First I'll look at his shirt to see. Or I'll see if he has that French letter
still in his pocketbook. I suppose he thinks I don't know deceitful men. All their 20 pockets aren't enough for their lies. Then why should we tell them?
Even if it's the truth, they don't believe you.
Then tucked up in bed like those babies in the aristocrat's masterpiece he brought me another time. As if we had enough of that in real life without some old aristocrat or whatever his name is disgusting you more with those rotten pictures.
Children with 2 heads and no legs. That's the kind of villainy they're always dreaming about, with not another thing in their empty heads.
They ought to get slow poison, the half of them.
Then tea and toast for him, buttered on both sides and new-laid eggs.
I suppose I'm nothing anymore.
When I wouldn't let him lick me in Hollis Street one night. Man, tyrant as ever. For the one thing, he slept on the floor half the night, naked, the way the Jews used when somebody dies belonged to them, and wouldn't eat any breakfast or speak a word wanting to be petted. So I thought I stood out enough for one time and let him.
He does it all wrong, too, thinking only of his own pleasure.
His tongue is too flat.
His tongue is
I
too
don't know
flat.
why.
I don't know why.
He forgets that.
He forgets that whether I
I'll make him do it again if he doesn't.
I'll make him do it again if he doesn't mind
And
himself.
lock him down to sleep.
And lock him down to sleep in the coal cellar with the black beetles. I wonder, was it her, Josie? Off her head with my cast-offs. He's such a born liar, too. No, he never had the courage with a married woman.
That's why he
wants me and Boylan. Though, as for her Dennis,
As she calls him, that forlorn-looking spectacle, you couldn't call him his husband. Yes, it's some little bitch he's got in with.
Even
when I was with him.
With
Millie
Millie
at the college races. That hornblower with the child's bonnet on the top of his knobs let us into by the back way.
He was throwing
his sheep's eyes at those two, doing skirt duty up and down.
I tried to wink at him first.
No use, of course. And that's the way his money goes. This is the fruits of Mr. Paddy Dignam.
Great style at the grand funeral.
Great style at the grand funeral and the paper Boylan brought in. If they saw a real officer's funeral, that'd be something.
Reversed arms,
Muffled drums,
the poor horse walking behind black. El Boom and Tom Curlin, that drunken little barreling man that bit his tongue off falling down the NWC.
Drunk in some place or other. And Martin Cunningham
and the two Daedaluses and
Fanny McCoy's husband.
White head of cabbage,
skinny with a turning her eye,
trying to
sing my songs.
She wanted to be born all over again, and her old green dress with the low neck, as she can't attract them any other way. Like dabbling on a rainy day. I see it all now plainly, and they call that friendship. Killing
and burying
They, all with their wives
and all with their wives and families at home, especially Jack Power, keeping them balmy. Of course his wife is always sick, or going to be sick, or just getting better of it. And he's a good-looking man still, though he's getting a bit gray over the years. They're a nice lot, all of them.
Well, they're not going to get my husband again into their clutches if I can help it. Making fun of him then behind his back. I know well when he goes on with his idiotics. Because he has sense enough not to squander every penny piece he earns down their gullets. And looks after his wife and family.
Good for nothings. Poor Paddy Dignam. All the same.
I'm sorry in a way for him. What are his wife and 5 children going to do? Unless he's insured. Comical little teetotum. Always stuck up in some pub corner. And her or her son waiting. Bill Bailey, won't you please come home?
Her widows were good for her appearance. They're awfully female if you're good looking.
What man? Wasn't he? Yes, he was at the Glen Cree dinner in Ben Dollard bass barrel tone. The night he borrowed Swallowtail to sing out of in Hollis Street, squeezed and squashed into them,
and grinning all over his big dolly face like a well-whipped child's body. Didn't he look a balmy bollocks? Sure enough, that must have been a spectacle on the stage. Imagine paying $5 in the preserved seats for that. To see him trotting off in his trousers. And Simon Daedalus, too, he was always turning up half-screwed. Singing the second verse first. The old love is the new was one of his. So sweetly sang the maiden on the hawthorn bough.
He was always on for flirtifying, too. When I sang Maritana with him at Freddie Mayer's private opera, he had a delicious, glorious voice. Phoebe, dearest, goodbye, sweetheart. Sweetheart, he always sang it. Not like Bartle Darcy's sweet tart goodbye. Of course, he had the gift of the voice, so there was no art in it. All over you like a warm shower bath. Oh, Maritana, wildwood flower. We sang splendidly. Though it was a bit too high for my register, even transposed. And he was married at the time to Meg Goulding. But then he'd say or do something to knock the good out of it.
He's a widower now. I wonder what sort is his son. He says he's an author and going to be a university professor of Italian. And I'm to take lessons. What is he driving at now?
Showing him my photo. It's not good of me. I ought to have got it taken in. Drapery that never looks out of fashion.
Still, I look young in it. I wonder he didn't make him a present of it altogether. And me, too, after all. Why not?
I saw him driving down to the Kingsbridge station with his father and mother. I was in mourning. That's 11 years ago now. Yes, he'd be 11. Though what was the good in going into mourning for what was neither one thing nor the other?
The first cry was enough for me. I heard the death watch, too, ticking on the wall.
Of course he insisted. He'd go into
mourning for the cat, I suppose.
He's a man now.
He's a man now by this time.
He was an
innocent boy then, and a darling little fellow in his Lord Fauntleroy suit and curly hair like a prince on the stage when I saw him at Matt Dillon's.
He liked me too, I remember. They all do. Wait. By God. Yes,
hold on.
Yes, hold on.
On the cards this morning when I laid out the deck. You
when I
knew
laid
the
out
young
the deck.
stranger, neither
You
dark
knew
nor
with the
fair
young
you met
stranger.
before.
Neither dark nor fair you met before.
But he's no chicken nor a stranger either.
But he's no chicken nor a
Besides,
stranger
my
either.
face was turned the other way.
Besides, my face
What was the
turned the other
seventh
way.
card after that?
What was the seventh
Ten of
card?
spades for a
Ten of
journey by land.
spades for a journey by
Then there was a
land.
letter on its
Then
way.
there was a
and
letter on
scandals.
its way.
Two.
And scandals.
Three
too.
queens,
Three
and the eight of
queens.
diamonds.
And the
for a
eight
rise
of
in
diamonds
society.
for a rise in society.
All came
Yes, wait, it all came out in 2 red 8s for new garments. Look at
Didn't
that.
I dream something?
And didn't I dream something too?
Yes, there was something about poetry
in it.
I hope
he has a long greasy hair hanging into his eyes.
Or standing up like a red Indian.
Red Indian. What do they go about like that for? Only getting themselves and their poetry laughed at. I always liked poetry when I was a girl.
First I thought he was a poet like Lord Byron,
And
and not an ounce of it in his composition.
I thought he was quite different. I wonder, is he too young? He's about 88.
He was married 88. Millie is 15 yesterday, 89.
What age was he then at Dillon's? 5 or 6.
6.
About 88.
I suppose he's 20 or more.
20 or more.
I'm not too
not
old
too
for him
old for him
if he's 23 or 24. I hope he's not that stuck-up university student sort.
No, otherwise he wouldn't go sitting down in the old kitchen with him.
Taking F's cocoa and talking. Of course he pretended to understand. Probably he told him he was at Trinity College. He's very young to be a professor. I hope he's not a professor like Goodwin was. He was a
potent professor of John Jameson.
They all
write about some woman in their poetry. Well, I
suppose he won't find many like me.
Where softly sighs of love. The light guitar, where poetry is in the air, the blue sea and the moon shining so beautifully, coming back on the night boat from Tarifa.
The lighthouse at Europa Point. The guitar that fellow played was so expressive. Will I ever go back there again? All new faces. 2 glancing eyes and eyes.
A lattice hid.
I'll sing that for him. They're my eyes, as any poet.
2 eyes as darkly bright as love's own star.
Aren't those beautiful words? As love's young star. It'll be a change the Lord knows to have an intelligent person to talk to about yourself.
Not listen to him and Billy Prescott's ad, and he's ad, some devil's ad.
Then if anything goes wrong in their business, we have to suffer.
I'm sure he's very distinguished. I'd like to meet a man like that. God, not those other ruck. Besides, he's young. Those fine young men I could see down in Market Strand bathing place from the side of the rock.
Standing up in the sun naked like a god or something.
And then plunging into the sea with them. Why aren't all men like that? There'd be some consolation for a woman. Like that lovely little statue he bought.
I could look at him all day long. Curly head and shoulders. His
finger up for you to listen. There's real beauty in poetry for you. I often felt I wanted to kiss him all over.
Also his lovely young cock there, so simple.
I wouldn't mind taking him in my mouth if nobody was looking. As if it was asking
you to suck it.
So clean and white he looks with his boyish face.
I would too in half a minute.
Even if some went down. What?
It's only like gruel or the dew. There's no danger. Besides, he'd be so clean compared with those pigs and men.
I suppose never dreamed of washing it from 1 year's end to the other.
1 year's end to most of them. Oh
That's what gives
the women the mustaches, I'm sure.
It'll be grand
if I can only get in with a handsome young poet at my age.
I'll throw them the first thing in the morning.
Until I see if the wish card comes out.
Or I'll try pairing the lady herself and see if he comes out. I'll read and study all I can find. Or learn a bit off by heart. If I knew who he likes so he won't think me stupid. If he thinks all women are the same and I can teach him the other part.
I'll make him feel all over
until he half faints under me. Then he'll write about me.
Lover and mistress, publicly too, with our two photographs, all the papers, when he becomes famous. Oh,
But then what am
I
I
going to do about him, though?
No, that's no way for him.
Has no manners, nor no refinement, nor no nothing in his nature? Slapping us behind like that on my bottom because I didn't call him Hugh the ignoramus that doesn't know poetry from a cabbage. That's what you get for not keeping him in a proper place.
Pulling off
His shoes and trousers there on the chair before me, so barefaced without even asking permission,
and standing out that vulgar way in half of a shirt they wear to be admired. Like a priest or a butcher or those old hypocrites in the time of Julius Caesar. Of course, he's right enough in his way to pass the time as a joke. Sure. You might as well be in bed with what? With a lion. God, I'm sure he'd have something better to say for himself.
An old lion would. Well, I suppose it's because they are so plump and tempting in my short petticoat. He couldn't resist.
They excite myself sometimes. It's well for men all the amount of pleasure they get off a woman's body. We're so round and white for them always. I wished I was one myself for a change.
I wished I was one myself for a change, just to try.
With that thing they have swelling up on you, so hard and at the same time so soft when you touch it.
My Uncle John has a thing. I heard those corner boys saying, passing the corner of Marrowbone Lane. My Aunt Mary has a thing was dark, and they knew a girl was passing.
Didn't make me blush. Why should it either? It's only nature. And he puts his
And
thing long into my Aunt Mary's hair, etc. And turns out to be you put the handle in a sweeping brush.
Men again all over. They can pick and choose what they please. A married woman or a fast widow or a girl for their different tastes, like those houses around behind Irish Street. No, but we're to be always chained up. They're not going to be chaining me up.
No damn fear once started, I tell you. Their stupid husband's jealousy. Why can't we all remain friends over it instead of quarreling? Her husband found it out, what they did together. Well, naturally. And if he did, can he undo it?
He's Coronado
anyway, whatever he does. And then he'd go into the other mad extreme about the wife and fair tyrants. Of course, the man never even casts a second thought on the husband, or wife either. It's the woman he wants, and he gets her. What else were we given all those desires for?
I'd like to know. I can't help it if I'm young still, can I?
It's a wonder I'm
not an old shriveled hag before my time. Living with him.
So cold. Never embracing me. Except sometimes when he's asleep. The wrong end of me, not knowing I suppose who he has. Any man that would kiss bottom, I'd throw my hat at him. After that, he'd kiss anything unnatural. Where we haven't one atom of any kind of expression in us. All of us the same 2 lumps of lard.
Before ever I'd do that to a man.
The dirty brutes.
The mere thought was enough. I kissed the feet of you, senorita. There's some sense in that.
Didn't he kiss our
hall door? Yes, he did.
What a madman.
Nobody understands his cracked ideas but me. Still,
he brings one to embrace 20 times a day, almost to make her look young.
No matter by who.
So long as to be in love or loved by somebody. If the fellow you want isn't there, sometimes, by the Lord God, I was thinking,
would I go around by the quays there some dark evening, where nobody'd know me,
and pick up a sailor
off the sea that'd be hot on for it, and not care a pin whose I was. Only do it off up in a gate somewhere. Or one of those wild-looking gypsies in Farnham had their camp pitched near the Bloomfield laundry to try and steal our things as they could. I only sent mine there a few times for the name.
Model laundry,
sending me back over and over some old one's odd stockings.
That blacker-looking fellow with the fine eyes peeling a switch attack me in the dark and ride me up against the wall without a word.
Or a murderer.
Anybody.
What they do themselves. The fine gentlemen in their silk hats. That KC lives up somewhere this way,
coming out of Hardwick Lane, the night he gave us the fish supper on account of winning over the boxing match.
Of course, it was for me he gave it.
I knew him by his gaiters in the walk.
And when I turned round a minute after just to see,
There was a woman after coming out of it too. Some filthy prostitute. Then he goes home to his wife after that. Only I suppose the half of those sailors are rotten again with disease. Oh, move over your big carcass out of that.
For the love of Mike, listen to him.
The winds that waft my sighs to thee, so well you may sleep and sigh. The great suggester Don Poldo de la Flora. If he knew how he came out on the cards this morning, he'd have something to sigh for. A dark man in some perplexity, between 2 sevens too, in prison for Lord knows what he does that I don't know.
And I'm to be sneaking around down in the kitchen to get his lordship his breakfast
while he's rolled up like a mummy. Will I indeed?
Did you ever see me
Did you
running?
ever see me running?
I just like to see myself.
Show them attention. Treat you like dirt. I don't care what anybody
It'd be much
says.
better for the world.
It'd be much better for the world to be governed by the
by
women.
the women. You wouldn't see women going and killing one another and slaughtering.
When do you ever see women rolling around drunk like they do?
Gambling, yes,
Because a woman, whatever she does, she knows where to stop.
Sure, they
Sure,
wouldn't
they
be
wouldn't be
all
in the
all for us.
They don't know what it
They
is
don't
to be a
know what it
woman
is to
and a
be
mother.
How could they? Where would they all of them be if they hadn't all a mother to look after them? But I never had.
That's why I suppose he's running wild.
That's why I suppose he's running wild now. Out at night, away from his books and studies, and not living at home, on account
On
of
account of the usual rowdy house, I suppose. Well, it's a poor case of those that have a fine son like that. They're not satisfied. And I
None. Was he not able to make one? It wasn't my fault. We came together when I was watching the 2 dogs up in her behind in the middle of the naked street. That disheartened me altogether.
I suppose I oughtn't to have buried him in that little woolly jacket I knitted, crying as I was, but give it to some poor child. But I knew well I'd never have another. Our first step
We were never the same.
Oh, I'm
I'm
not
not going to make myself into the blues about that anymore. I wonder why I wouldn't stay the night. I felt all the time it was somebody strange she brought in. Instead of roving around the city, meeting God knows who, night walkers and pickpockets. His poor mother
mother
wouldn't
wouldn't like that if she was alive. Ruining himself for life, perhaps. Still, it's a lovely hour. So silent.
I used to
I
love
used to
coming
love
home.
coming home after dances.
The air of the night.
air of the night.
They have friends they
They
can
have
talk
friends
to.
they can talk to. We've none.
Either he wants what he
won't
won't
get,
get,
and some women ready to stick her knife in you.
I hate that.
I hate that in women. No wonder they treat us the way they do. We are a dreadful lot of bitches. I suppose it's all the troubles we have makes us so snappy.
I'm
not like that.
He could easily have slept in
Slept
the
in
sofa in the other room.
room.
I suppose he was shy as a boy, he being so young, hardly 20. Me in the next room. He'd have heard me on the chamber, hurrah.
He'd have heard me on the chamber.
What
What
harm?
harm Daedalus, I wonder.
It's
Like those names in Gibraltar. De La Paz, De La Gracia. They had the devil's queer names there. Father Villaplana of Santa Maria that gave me the rosary. Rosales y O'Reilly in the Calle Las Siete Revueltas, and Pisimbo and Mrs. Opiso in Governor Street. Oh, what a name. I'd go and drown myself in the first river if I had a name like her. Oh my, and all the bitch streets. Paradise Ramp, Bedlam Ramp, and Rogers Ramp, Crutchett's Ramp, and the Devil's Gap Steps.
Small blame to me if I'm staring.
I know I am a bit. I declare to God I don't feel a day older than then. I wonder, could I get my tongue around any of the Spanish?
¿Cómo está usted? Muy buen gracias, ¿y usted?
Usted? See, I haven't forgotten at all. I thought I had. Only for the grammar. A noun is the name of any person, place, or thing.
Pity I never tried to read that novel, Cantankerous Mrs. Rubio, made by Valera. Questions in it all upside down. The two ways I always knew we'd go away in the end.
I can tell him the
I can tell him
Spanish.
Spanish,
Tell me
and
Italian.
tell me the Italian.
Then
Then
he'll see.
he'll see I'm not so ignorant. What a pity he didn't stay. I'm sure the poor fellow was dead tired and wanted a good sleep badly. I could have brought him in his breakfast in bed with a bit of toast,
So long as I didn't do it on the night for bad luck. Or if the woman was going her rounds with the watercress and something nice and tasty. For a few olives in the kitchen he might like. I never could bear the look of them in abrines. I could do the criada.
The room looks
all right since I changed it the other way.
You see, something was
telling me all the time I'd have to introduce myself, not knowing me from Adam. Very funny, wouldn't it?
And his wife.
Or pretend we were in Spain with him half awake without a god's notion where he is.
Dos huevos estrellados.
Senor. Lord, the cracked things come into my head sometimes.
It'd be great fun. Supposing he stayed with us.
Why not?
Why not? There's the room upstairs empty.
And Millie's
bed in the back room.
He could do his
He could do his
writing
writing and studies at the table in there. For all the scribbling he does at it. But if he wants to read in bed in the morning like me, as he's making breakfast for one, he can make it for two, I'm sure. I'm not going to
take in lodgers off the street for him. If he takes a gazebo of a house like this,
I'd love to have a long talk with an intelligent, well-educated person. I'd have to get a nice pair of red slippers, like those Turks with the fez used to sell, or yellow, and a nice semi-transparent or a peach blossom dressing jacket
like the one long ago in Walpole's.
Only 8'6" or 18'6". I'll just give him one more chance. I'll get up early in the morning.
I'm sick of Cohen's old bed in any case. I might go over to the markets to see all the vegetables and cabbages and tomatoes and carrots and all kinds of splendid fruits. All coming in lovely and fresh. Who knows who'd be the first man I'd meet?
They're out looking for it in the morning. Mammy Dillon used to say they are. And the night, too. That was her mass going.
I'd love a big juicy pear now to melt in your mouth, like when I used to be in the longing way.
Then I'll throw him up his eggs and tea in the mustache cup she gave him to make his mouth bigger. I suppose he'd like my nice cream, too.
I know what I'll do.
I know what I'll do. I'll go about rather gay. Not too much singing. A bit now and then. Mi fa pieta massetto. Then I'll start dressing myself to go out.
Presto, non sum più forte. I'll put on my best shift and drawers. Let him have a good eyeful of that to make his Nicky stand for him. I'll let him know if that's what he wanted, that his wife is fucked.
Yes,
and damn well fucked too.
Up to my neck, nearly not by him. 5 or 6 times hand running. There's the mark of his spunk on the clean sheet. I wouldn't bother to even iron it out. That ought to satisfy him. If you don't believe me, feel my belly. Unless I made him stand there
and put him into me. I have a mind to tell him every scrap and make him do it out in front of me.
And make him do it out in front of me. Serve him right. It's all his own fault if I'm an adulteress, as the thing in the galleries said.
Oh, much about it, if that's all the harm ever we did in this vale of tears.
God knows it's not much. Doesn't everybody? Only they hide it.
I suppose that's what a woman is supposed to be there for. Or he wouldn't have made us the way he did. So attractive.
So attractive to men.
Then if he wants to kiss my body,
right out of his face, large as life.
He can stick his
tongue 7 miles up my hole as he's there.
My
brown
Then I'll tell him
I want 1 pound, or perhaps 30. I'll tell him I want to buy underclothes. Then if he gives me that, well, he won't be too bad. I don't want to soak it all out of him like other women do. I could often have written out a fine check for myself and write his name on it for a couple of pounds.
A few times he forgot to lock it up. Besides, he won't spend it. I'll let him do it off on me behind, provided he doesn't smear all my good drawers. Oh, I suppose that can't be helped. I'll do the indifferent 1 or 2 questions. I'll know by the answers. When he's like that, he can't keep a thing back.
I know every turn in him. I'll tighten my bottom well and let out a few smutty words. Smell rump or lick my shit or the first mad thing that comes into my head. Then I'll suggest about...
Yes.
Oh, wait now, Sonny. My turn is coming. I'll be quite gay and friendly over it. Oh, but I was forgetting this bloody pest of a thing. You wouldn't know which to laugh or cry for such a mixture of plum and apple.
No, I'll have to wear the old things. So much the better it'll be, more pointed. He'll never know whether he did it or not. There, that's good enough for you. Any old thing at all. Then I'll wipe him off me just like a business, his omission. Then I'll go out. I'll have him eyeing up at the ceiling. Where is she gone now? Make him want me.
That's the only way.
A quarter after. What an unearthly hour. I suppose they're just getting up in China now, combing out their pigtails for the day. We'll soon have the nuns ringing the angelus.
They've
nobody coming in to spoil their sleep, except an odd priest or two for his night office.
Or the alarm clock next door at Cockshed, clattering the brains out of itself.
Let me see if I can doze off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
What kind of flowers are those they invented like the stars?
The wallpaper on Lombard Street was
much nicer. The apron he gave me was like that something. Only I only wore it twice.
Better lower this lamp and try again, so as I can get up early. I'll go to Lamb's there beside Finlayter's and get them to send us some flowers to put about the place, in case he brings them home tomorrow. Today, I mean.
No, Friday's an unlucky day. First I want to do the place up some way. The dust grows in it, I think, while I'm asleep. Then we can have music and cigarettes. I can accompany him. First I must clean the keys of the piano with milk. What'll I wear? Shall I wear a white rose? Or those fairy cakes and Liptons? I love the smell of a rich big shop at 7.5D a pound. Or the other ones with the cherries in them and pinky sugar. 11D. A couple of pounds of those. A nice plant in the middle of the table. I'd get that cheaper and...
Wait, where's this? I saw them not long ago.
I love flowers. I'd love to have the whole place swimming in roses. God of heaven, there's nothing like nature. The wild mountains, then the sea, and the waves rushing. Then the beautiful country with the fields of oats and wheat and all kinds of things. And all the fine cattle going about. That would do your heart good to see rivers and lakes and flowers. All sorts of shapes, smells, and colors springing up. Even out the ditches. Primroses and violets. Nature it is.
As for them saying there's no God,
I wouldn't give a snap of my 2 fingers for all their learning.
Why don't they go and create something? I often asked him,
atheists or whatever they call themselves.
Go in the cobbles off themselves first.
Then they go howling for the priest and they die. And why? Why? Because they're afraid of hell on account of their bad conscience. Ah, yes, I know them well. Who was the first person in the universe before there was anybody?
That made it all?
Who? Ah, that they don't know. Neither do I, so there you are. They might as well try to stop the sun from rising tomorrow. The sun shines for you, he said. The day we were lying among the rhododendrons on Half Head. In the great tweed suit and his straw hat. The day I got him to propose to me. Yes. First I gave him a bit of seed cake out of my mouth. And it was leap year like now. Yes, 16 years ago. My God.
After that long kiss, I nearly lost my breath.
Yes. He said I was a flower of the mountain. Yes, so we are flowers all a woman's body. Yes, that was one true thing he said.
Yes, that was why I liked him.
Because I saw he understood or felt what a woman is. And I knew I could always get round him. And I gave him all the pleasure I could, leading him on till he asked me to say yes. And I wouldn't answer first, only looked out over the sea and the sky. I was thinking of so many things. He didn't know of Mulvey and Mr. Stanhope and Hester and Father and old Captain Groves and the sailors playing all birds fly, and I say stoop, and washing up dishes, they called it, on the pier.
And the sentry in front of the governor's house with the thing round his white helmet. Poor devil, half roasted. And the Spanish girl laughing in their shawls and their tall combs.
And the auctions in the morning.
The Greeks, and the Jews, and the Arabs,
and the devil knows who else, from all the ends of Europe, and
Duke Street, and the fowl market all clucking outside Barber's sheds,
and the poor donkeys slipping half asleep,
and the vague fellows in the cloaks,
asleep in the shade on the steps,
and the big wheels of the carts of the bulls,
and the old castles thousands of years old.
Yes, and those handsome Moors, all in white and turbans like kings,
asking you to sit down in their little bit of a shop,
and Rhonda with the old windows of the posadas,
two glancing eyes, the lattice hid for to kiss,
the iron in the wine shops half open at night, and the castanets,
and then night we missed the boat at Algeciras, the watchman going about serene with his lamp, and
that awful deep down torrent.
Oh, and the sea.
The sea crimson sometimes like fire, and the glorious sunsets, and the fig trees in the Almeida gardens.
Yes, and all the queer little streets.
And the pink and blue and yellow houses, and the rose gardens, and the jessamine, and geraniums, and cactuses, and Gibraltar as a girl, where I was a flower
of the mountain.
Yes, when I put the rose in my hair, the Andalusian girls used. Or shall I wear a red?
Yes,
and how he kissed me under the orange wall.
And I thought,
well, him as another. And then I asked him with my eyes to ask again. Yes.
And then he asked me, would I?
He asked me, would I? Yes, to say, yes, my mountain flower. And first I put my arms around him.
Yes.
And drew him down to me so he could feel my breath all perfume. Yes, and his heart was going like mad. And yes, I said, yes, I will.
Yes.
End of chapter 18. End of Ulysses.